Marshall popped in last week, made Woody Johnson do some weird thing where they bent over. I don't know. It was all right. But then Woody Johnson got his back cracked. Did you see that? Brandon Marshall gave Woody Johnson what looked like one of the best back cracks I'd ever seen. He had him 4 feet in the air. Woody was like, oh, what's happening? I'm a billionaire. What the hell's going on?
I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah!
You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, here we go. Oh my God, it's a big day. We are inching closer and closer to the 2022 NFL season, packed full of expectations, which are merely resentments waiting to happen. I know this from experience, my good friends. I am GreenBean. This is the Thursday thick of it, and we are chomping at the bit to talk to you guys. You got people. There's a little bit of seething going on. There's a little aggravation. There's a little concern. There's all kinds of stuff to talk about with me and with you. But I don't know if you're aware, we have some extra help tonight. We're going to bring on the one and only Joe Blewett from Jet X Factor in just a few minutes. We're going to have a little trivia with Y2K. We are going to talk about offensive line changes and difficulties. We're going to talk about defensive schematics. We might even hear the word tunnel screen by this fine gentleman that's starting the show first, our co-host, Mr. Frankie from Flatbush. What's up, Mr. Frankie?
Well, it might just be a sad day in the annals of the Denzel Mims dream season we all thought might happen. It just might be that we can't have our dream come true. We all thought it's Mimsy season.
Yeah.
But maybe not.
Well, and isn't the dream, Frankie, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the dream just that the Jets can use the NFL draft, the upper portion of the draft, the first, second, third round, on a wide receiver that fits the mold of rare measurables, catches isn't the dream just that we can pick one of those guys and actually watch them play football for a couple of years? Is that all? Is that it? Or am I off on this dream of ours?
Well, I was just hoping he could outplay Jeff Smith. I mean, I had very low expectations. Can we get him in front of Jeff Smith, perhaps? Just as wide receiver 5. Can I see him on special teams in more than 3 snaps? Can I just see how he might do on special teams? Can I see him as a kick returner? No. Coach Boyer says, no, you cannot see him as a kick returner. You cannot see him on special teams. We're not going to play him. We're not going to do anything. We don't like him. Get out of here.
That's it. They clearly don't like him. They made it clear last year. And there was all this talk about effort, obviously not including, that he lost 20 pounds because of salmon and the whole thing. Then he gets COVID. But again, he comes back this year literally as a man on fire. Right? His body looks different. Clearly, he was working his ass off all offseason. It's okay, if these guys want to see this, I'm going to show them this. And it's almost as if it's kind of like, it's words, Frankie. It's words. There was never any intention. That's kind of what you get. Now, here's the thing. And then we're going to say hello to guys like Mr. Show. Look, he's sad. Mr. Show over here, Frankie. People are sad. Now, you got the anti-Mimsies. They're saying, I told you, he sucks. Get him out of here. Take a 7th and call it a day. But here's the truth of the matter, is that, number one, if the Jets were never going to use him, like if this coaching staff sincerely can't figure out how to utilize a 6'3", sub 4'4" wide receiver that blocks his ass off and catches damn near everything, if they can't figure that out, fine. That's fine. If you just don't like them, good, then get rid of them. But you don't have to give something like that away for free. And if you don't get what you want, an agent asking for a trade, Frankie, I'm not sure if you know this, that does not mean that we have to trade him. We are not now forced to do anything. Did you know that, Frankie? We don't have to trade Denzel Mims.
I did read the rule book of the NFL rule book. Nothing in there about if an agent wants a trade, you have to trade them. Nothing in there. Not one thing. Not in the rules at all. So, no, we don't have to get rid of him, but it'd be nice, even if we did want to get rid of him, why wouldn't this coaching staff showcase him? Start him in the preseason games. Force him some passes. Make sure he gets some exposure. Do something. What kind of a decision-making crew do we have? We can't even decide, hey, okay, this guy's not for us, but let's get some value. Let's showcase him. Let other teams have some tape on him where he's catching passes, this, that, and the other thing. And now you can get, maybe we could get Roquan Smith. Maybe we could get something useful instead of a 6th-round pick. What do you need a 6th-round pick for Denzel Mims?
I know, right? I agree with you. What good is it? We're not in that place right now anymore. We don't need to stockpile 6th-round picks. That's not what we're doing. It was really the order of the day. First 2 years of Joe Douglas's tenure, of course, yes. Bring them in. Bring in the picks. Get as many bodies in here, young talent, competition, all the stuff. But it's an interesting thing with Denzel Mims because I honestly believe that if they don't want him, and I said this numerous times, as much as I've proclaimed that I'm a fan of his, I've said numerous times that if you're not going to use him, get something. And when you have maybe a hole at swing tackle, maybe some of these other positions that you might not be as well stocked, I'd prefer that they did something along those lines as opposed to a 6th-round pick. Let me get a 6th-round pick from the Chiefs, so it's going to be an early 7th kind of a thing. You know what I mean, Frankie?
Well, Mims and Ashton Davis and a few picks for Jesse Bates. We need a free safety. I don't know about you, GreenBean, but I'm not feeling too comfortable with LaMarcus Joyner.
No, why not?
Especially if we're going to sit here and play cover 3 all day, you need a free safety who can, cover the entire field like Earl Thomas used to do back in the day for the Seahawks.
Well, maybe Wild Goose, huh? What do you think of the way? Isn't it fun to say? Well, listen, Frankie, before we dig too much further into this, I'm going to see, I want to get somebody else's opinion. As much as you and I are talking, we kind of know where we stand on Denzel Mims, but I'm really curious because a couple of years ago when we drafted Denzel Mims, this gentleman put out a video with some real sincere praise for Denzel Mims and what his potential was. So I'm real curious to see where he stands today. Let's say hello to him and bring him back on the show. Say hello to Mr. Joe Blewett himself. What's up, Joe?
What's up, GreenBean? Looking forward to talking to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you on week 1, talking some Mims, talking some actual football instead of talking about the draft since November. I'm really excited to get into a season that's exciting.
Why would you want, dude, Joe? It doesn't seem like talking about actual football does us any good. It's the hypotheticals. It's what ifs. That's the fun stuff. No, am I off? I started to
because the season comes and then we get 4 wins and then we're all disappointed. So we have to do the what ifs.
Yeah, I'm telling you. But you're right, man. And Joe, that you remember my co-host Frankie. And we were just talking about Denzel Mims. Now, I don't want to lead you or anything. I mean, I'm a little I wouldn't say I'm upset. I'm disappointed that we can't figure out how to use this guy. But that all aside, I'm not there every day. I don't have the inside scoop and all that. I'm genuinely curious as to what your thoughts are to the report that his agent requested a trade, put out a very nice statement. Joe Douglas, we trust him, we like him, we have a good relationship, blah, blah, blah. But they're clearly not going to use Denzel Mims, so we'd like a trade. How do you see this? Like, what does it look like from your vantage point?
Disappointing. One, obviously, when we draft the guy, you just preface, the video I made, and I made it with Marcus Coleman, who played the NFL, and we were both looking at this guy like he could be a legit number 1. Obviously his first year he's injured. He doesn't have the camp. He comes in, he impresses with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco obviously gets subbed out for Darnold, and then he doesn't have the follow up to the rest of his rookie year. Second year, I'm sure you've talked about it 1,000 times. I've talked about it 1,000 times. Ryan's talked about it 1,000 times. Frankie's talked about it 1,000 times. There's just so many different kind of situations with his second year that wasn't ideal for him. With that being said, he still had 9 catches for, 60 yards and 4 penalties, so he didn't produce like we wanted him to produce, regardless of the excuses we can make for him. And then coming into this offseason, we were all hopeful that he could at least be the number 4, maybe get 300, 400, 500 yards, which is a low bar to clear for what we thought he was coming out of Baylor, which is unfortunate. And then you see him making some plays in practice, but then when it's time to show up in the preseason game, he's the 7th stringer. He comes in behind guys like Jeff Smith and Tyreek Black or whoever it was. So that was obviously disappointing. And he makes a few nice catches, and we're all excited, and Twitter's going crazy. And I'm sure you're going crazy. GreenBean, he's making plays, and then there's penalties, and then there's drops.
Yeah,
so it's kind of the story of Mims is just the inconsistency. But it is disappointing because you look again. I thought he was going to be a starter in this league, and now you're looking at maybe getting a 5th or 6th round pick for him. So.
Now, do you think Joe Douglas is now, look, an agent saying, hey, we'd like a trade doesn't mean we have to do anything. We could say, I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you for sharing, but we're not going to do anything of the sort because we're going to keep him as wide receiver 6 or whatever it is in the event an injury happens, so forth and so on. Do you think that Joe Douglas will feel that pressure and kind of be forced a little bit? Do you think he's going to end up trading him for whatever he could get, or do you think he'll hold out and pull, a little Joe Douglas magic out of his hat, or keep him? Like, do you think it'll end up, doing what the agent wants, or the other way?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case. When you're looking at a guy like last year, we just referenced, the fact he's 7th string wide receiver, 6th string wide receiver, you're really going to hunker down and not take a 5th or a 6th round pick for a guy who's going to get 30, 40 snaps this year if he's not happy, So I think they'll take what they can get for him. Again, it's disappointing, and there's that hopeful Cinderella story out there where I'm not rooting for injuries, but Corey Davis goes down or something like that, and then Mims comes in and dominates, and he's the receiver we thought he was. Yeah, sure, there's that fantasy out there, but at the end of the day, they're going to trade him because they're not going to bench a guy for a 6th round pick that they can potentially have or whatever it's going to be. Again, Joe Douglas works magic. If he can get a 6th for Cashman, maybe he can get a 2nd for Mims. So we don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I like that you just said that. That is exactly what I'm thinking. I think if he can get a damn 6th round pick for Blake Cashman, who has had as many injuries as he has had games he's played in, I think he can get a 1st round pick for Denzel Mims. That's what I think. Maybe a late 1st or early 2nd. That's what I'm thinking, man.
It's logical.
Yeah, I know. Who knows? Guys, we are here with Joe Blewett from Jet X Factor. Do you still do Blewett's Blitz? Are you still calling it Blewett's Blitz?
Yeah, I don't know what I call it anymore. It's Jet X Factor live streams, and the videos come out. I don't know what it is. I don't do the editing. Unfortunately, I'm really technically, I'm just an idiot with technology. So I pretty much just make videos, and everybody else does the groundwork for it and puts it up. So I don't know what it's called anymore. Yeah,
I think it's not because I haven't seen it. And earlier on, I looked for Blewett's Blitz, and now it's different. But either way, you can see him on Blewett's Blitz, see him on Jet X Factor. You guys know and love him. We are here with Joe Blewett, and we have specific designs on our conversation with Joe tonight. He's going to be with us till a little, give or take 9 p.m. And we have some ideas that we want to just bend his ear on specifically. If you guys have questions for Joe, by all means, throw them in the chat. We'll try to keep our eyes out for, good questions. If you want to make sure it gets heard, of course, the system is super chats, jump the line. And Jeremy and Y2K will scan the chat for good questions, non-trolly good stuff. So Frankie and I wanted to start with, the offensive line. Frankie has he wants to dig a little bit more into the defense, but I want to start with the offensive line. Now, we went into this training camp thinking, okay, we got it. We got Mekhi Becton on the left. We signed Lake and Tomlinson in free agency. We have the only guy, coming back as far as his own position, Connor McGovern, but then we're moving AVT to the right side, and we got George Fant, and that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be great. And since then, we've had George Fant get named the starting left tackle. Then Mekhi, our right tackle, goes down. Then we signed Dwayne Brown. So there's all kinds of shuffling around. Now, Joe, I want to know seriously, these guys are professionals, at least the 2 on the left side that we added, they're pros. So we got that in our favor. But how difficult is this going to be to watch this group of guys actually gel as a unit? We waited till about week 6 last year before they even looked like they could play offensive line. What do you see happening this year, and what types of difficulties like AVT, George Fant going back to the right side, what do you see happening with these guys realistically?
Yeah, And the benefit of kind of the veterans we brought in, you're mentioning guys like Laken Tomlinson, is that they have, and obviously Dwayne Brown as well, they have experience in the system. You heard Dwayne Brown mention that he played in the system with the Texans, and obviously Laken Tomlinson was in this exact system with the 49ers for 4 or 5 years he was there. So I don't think there's going to be as much transition as there would be to new guys in the system to rookies. So it's going to take a couple of weeks, like you said. I don't think it's going to be week 6, but maybe week 2 or 3. They're going to have some road bumps, but they've all played the system. McGovern's been here, obviously. Tomlinson's been in the system. Fant's been in the system. ABT's been in the system for a year now, and he's played right guard. He played all over the line, obviously at USC. I'm forgetting another starter, but they've all played here. So it'll take a little bit of time to learn like how to pass off combo blocks, how to pick up blitzes, what guys struggle with when they need assistance, when they don't need assistance. It'll take a few weeks, but I'm not overly concerned about it. Like we're bringing in a bunch of rookies who don't have the system down. It's just about learning who you're playing next to. And even if Fant didn't play next to ABT on the right side, but when he's playing on the right side, he's also playing next to guys like GBR. So I'm sure that the transition will be, relatively smooth. So it's going to take a few weeks, and it is a concern. I don't necessarily love moving guys around a lot, just based on getting used to the position. Again, these guys are elite athletes. So you change one little thing, and that could just put them, at 95% of what they are, and then they're not that elite tackle, that ABT Pro Bowl level left guard that we thought he was. But at the same time, I think he was fine at right guard when he played there at USC, and I don't think he really is going to have a problem at the NFL level doing it. It's just you're changing up everything. Okay, if you're a orthodox boxer, go on to unorthodox or southpaw, or okay, if you're a sprinter, you're lunging off of your right foot, now put your left foot back, or you do laps in basketball. If you're a righty, you're gonna leap off your left foot, now make it the opposite. So it's not. I don't think it's as brutal as some people say. Like, okay, well, learn to write with your right hand to your left hand. Like, it's not that precise, but it's still like general accuracy. It's not necessarily easy to do. So I don't necessarily love that guys are moving around, but I'm faithful that they'll have it down throughout the first 2-3 weeks or so.
Yeah, and then Frankie, I'm going to follow up with this, and I'll turn it over to you for some questions. But now, as far as like Fant, last year, one of the decisions that the Jets chose to do last year, they waited till 5 minutes before the game started last year, and they announced George Fant is our right tackle over Morgan Moses. By the end of the game, George Fant goes over to the left side, and he plays the rest of the year over there. Has a great year. Now, the word on the street is that he's a better left tackle than he is a right tackle. But the truth is that he played right tackle in a completely different system for different coaches and the whole thing. Do you think that his transition to the right side is going to be aided by the fact that this is still the second year in this system? He's just switching up a few things, or are we looking at potentially a downtick in production and almost born out of necessity? That's the only reason that we want him over there, and we're really looking for some trouble here.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate for Fant, right? Because he signs here, believes he's going to be the left tackle, and then eventually he's not the left tackle. He ends up being the right tackle because Mekhi Becton's drafted, and then in last offseason, okay, competing for that job potentially again, and then Morgan Moses comes in. He has to fight for right tackle. He starts at right tackle. Becton goes down. Now he's left tackle again. Cool. He's happy. Now he's going to his third year. Thinks he'd be left tackle again. He wins the job. It's announced. Nope, never mind. You're not the left tackle.
I know.
That's Dwayne Brown. So it's unfortunate for Fant, and kudos to him for being the leader that he is. And I don't think a lot of people mention it, but like he came into the Jets and was a leader like very, very early on, and was captain of captain of the team. So like now, do they sign him at left tackle money for playing right tackle? Like, hey, Fant, we know you have to play kind of in a crappy situation this year, but we're going to be left tackle money. So I think the Jets need to be loyal to this guy. Again, I don't think he doesn't have the miles on the tires that some other 30-year-old tackles do, obviously, with him starting late. So I think he has plenty of good years left. So I'd like to see them sign Fant, just because you don't want a ton of movement next year. Like, what if Dwayne Brown is gone? What if Connor McGovern's gone? What if Becton's gone? Like, there's just too much movement. So you want some continuity with the offensive line. And for me, left tackle versus right tackle, I almost think like just based on what I see from Jets fans, like in the consensus, like Twitter world, whatever, YouTube world, I think fans are a little bit too high on him at left tackle, but a little bit too low on him at right tackle. Like I don't think he was brutal at right tackle. I think he was average, maybe a little bit below average. And when he was left tackle, he was solid, but he wasn't some elite Pro Bowl level player. Like he was good. So I think there will be a slight drop off just in terms of his individual play, but I still think you're looking at a mid-level decent right tackle, which again, maybe not ideal, after coming off of what he did last year, just in terms of him being a little bit better at the left tackle position, but right tackle being average is plenty good.
Yeah, and I like what you said too about realistically, Dwayne Brown might not be here, and Connor McGovern might not be here, and it's like all of a sudden next year again, if we lose Fant, like we're really looking at another brand new offensive line. Like how long are we going to do this before we actually learn how to keep a unit together and actually let them gel and become one and actually protect one of our damn quarterbacks that we invest these fucking resources in already? I'd like to see somebody protected. But Frankie, go ahead.
Well, staying on the offensive line, what about the pivot? We got, there's a lot of people who are, I'd say it's a controversy in Jet fandom. Is McGovern any good, or does he stink, or is he average? The PFF grades say one thing. A lot of people say another thing. And Joe, as one of the great film breaker downers, I'd be curious as to what your opinion on Connor McGovern is.
Yeah, it's always hard to quantify because I'm not out there watching 32 tackles, so it's hard to give okay, he's the 13th best tackle. So I always give ranges, and I think he's about average. I think a lot of people hate him, and initially his stint with the Jets, there's not a couple of pretty plays on broadcast. And Frankie, I'm sure I know you're getting into the film, the stats, and all that stuff, and you know how one play can sway people's opinions, especially on broadcast when they're not watching the other 59 plays of the guy. You're only going to see the one or two plays that really stand out. So what is he doing those other 57 reps, whatever it may be? So I think McGovern's about average, and I think him playing next to guys who he hasn't had continuity with, making some excuses for him, and playing next to guys like Alex Lewis and GVR and Feeney when he comes in is not necessarily the most conducive to having a good PFF grade or just looking good in general. So again, not to bail myself out, I don't think he's good. I don't think he's bad. I think he's about an average level player who I think we'll see about probably a little bit of an uptick in the mind of Jets fans this year because he's playing next to guys like Laken Tomlinson and ABT now instead of, again, guys like, GVR, who is one of the worst starting guards I've ever seen in my entire life.
I know. I'm still amazed by how long they kept him in last year, man. I mean, we were watching it, and look, you want to give guys that opportunity. Like I said, the whole offensive line was having legitimate difficulty the first quarter of the season, but when you looked at where that was centered, it was on right around GVR most of the time, and they kept him in there all the way toward the end of the season. I mean, that's what happens, I guess, when you don't trust your depth. When, Isaiah Wilson and a couple other guys that we had as the backups last year, I guess they were just like, look, we don't have it. We don't have a guy that's going to be an upgrade, so we just got to keep this guy in. Hopefully, man. I mean, I don't know, Joe. I'm starting to get a little bit. I'm just starting to get a little bit nervous, a little bit. I'm an optimistic guy, but just a little tiny bit. I'm starting to wonder about some of the decisions and what we're really going to do with, especially when it comes to the offensive line, because it looks like we're going to have Flacco. But even if Flacco's there 1 or 2 weeks, the truth is that Zach Wilson's going to come in, and we know that he can be a bit erratic, and he can start getting nervous and zeroing in on guys, which tips the defense off and all that kind of shit. I'd rather see him trust his offensive line and actually become comfortable enough to become who he's going to be, not feel like he has to be something more than he is. You know what I mean? So I'm going to get to a super chat. It's going to change the pace a little bit, but we'll get right back to the offensive line and then into some defense. The Mr. Show from the Jet Show, he's saying, hey, this Mims thing, I'm not done with it. So being honest, I read, which I'm not either, Mr. Show, in complete transparency, I don't know what to think about this anymore. Being honest, I read between the lines during Mims's press conference when he mentioned that he wanted to be a starter. He's not happy. Well, I think that you're correct. I mean, Joe, especially, looking at what you were talking about last year. He had a whole bunch of difficulties last year, whether food poisoning and COVID in the same year, and on top of new system, on top of learning free positions, blah, 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 blah. But when he got on the field, he'd get a penalty and the Jets would pull him. I was of the school of thought, like, dude, I mean, you're talking about Tariq Black and DJ Montgomery. Just keep him in there and play him through it. If he drops 19 passes in a fucking game, just let him drop 9. Then we know for sure, and there's none of these games anymore. I'm on that side. Jets did not choose to go that way, and here we are. Do you think that, were you getting the vibes that Denzel Mims is not happy as well, or are you just kind of thinking, like we said earlier, maybe he could come up from maybe wide receiver 5 and get 35, 45 catches, 400 or 500 yards and kind of start from there? What were you thinking?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for like 300 to 400 yards as wide receiver 4, and then hopefully he can continue to prove himself and be a legitimate starter in this league. Did I doubt that? Yes, because again, at the end of the day, his year 2, he had a lot of excuses and maybe reasons we could really delve into to kind of aid the argument of, he wasn't comfortable and it never started off on the right foot, and that's why this and that. At the end of the day, again, I don't know the exact stats, but 9 catches, 60 yards, and 5 penalties. It just is what it is. He didn't produce when he was on the field, and then he comes in this offseason and he's making some catches and some plays. And again, he comes in 7th-string receiver. It shows what the staff thinks about him, and he's making some good plays. But then again, it's followed up by penalties. So I think with his coaching staff, when you're talking about wide receiver 5 or 6, which is unfortunate that he even had to fight from that spot, you want those guys who are only playing 5, 10, 15 reps a game to be consistent. And to know the playbook and to not have penalties. They want the guy to be consistent from snap to snap, not necessarily the really high floor, the really high ceiling, the really low floor that is Mims right now. They want that base level of consistency. So, it is unfortunate that he's not happy. He said he wants to be a starter, but at the same point, like with that press conference, you guys, I know GreenBean because you're the YouTube content creator of Against the Media type stuff. So with them, like they asked, do you envision yourself as a starter? It's like, yeah, I envision myself as a starter. Like who doesn't envision themselves as a starter? So I'm not gonna put too much into that comment because everybody should say that. It's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm happy being wide receiver 5. Like nobody's gonna ever say that. So he may be, or he obviously isn't happy requesting a trade. And again, his career was peaking in year 1 with the Jets, where I really thought he was going to be something in year 2, and what it's turned into is just, it's wild how quickly he dropped off. And to me it's not a talent thing, because he had talent and he fits the offense relatively just in terms of his yak ability and his blocking ability. But with that being said, you can have all the physical capabilities in the world, but if you don't have it mentally, you just don't have it mentally. Like look at Odell Beckham's cousin, who was here for a couple of weeks. Was it Dorial Green Beckham, who's like a freak of nature? There are guys who are freaks who just don't have it between the ears sometimes. And I think Mims had kind of left them, behind the learning the playbook, bringing in guys like Keelan Cole, and he just started from behind with the coaching staff. He's never able to make it up because his play is too inconsistent. Yeah,
but is that a concern to you? I think one of the items that I really appreciate about some of the greatest coaches in history is that they figure out how to reach each guy. You know what I mean? Like you got 90 guys at the beginning of training camp. You're trying to see what you can squeeze out of every single one of them. It gets down to 53 and you got the practice squad. And the whole goal is that you're able to find where their talent is, how I can reach them so I can maximize their talent and build the system around these guys that I have, rather than, hey, I have to wait 3 more years until I can get the exact collection of individuals that I like. I don't like them. I want different guys, that kind of thing. Are you concerned at all, though, Joe, about like maybe that this staff might not be able to figure out how to kind of work with this guy or reach this guy? And it's not just him. There are other guys, but just because we're talking about him, but they haven't been able to really reach him. Clearly, he's working. In the whole offseason, he came back on fire, so he's trying. He's putting in the work. Do you think that there's any concern here about what this coaching staff is able to do because of this one?
No, not really. Just because, like you said, that there's 90 guys out there. For them to key in on one guy, I think it's easy for us to think that. But in the grand scheme of things, when you have 10 receivers, 11 receivers, and let's say Tariq Black is outperforming him and Jeff Smith, are they really going to are they going to baby Denzel Mims? Like at a certain point, he's an NFL player. He's got to step up and prove himself. So if he's again, and it's hard when we're not there. We're not in the meeting
Right.
rooms. We don't know what's going on. We don't know 95% of what's going on. We have to be realistic about it. So, there's reports of him out there loafing in practice. If he's loafing in practice, he's loafing in practice. We can't really defend him. Now, is it true? Is it not? We're not really sure. Is he not attentive in meeting rooms? Is he not taking notes? Is he not answering questions properly? You see a guy like Sauce Gardner out there, 30 minutes before practice, just working on getting shuffles in like that. That is important to the Jet staff. That which I almost hate to this point, like that strain. Which if I hear that one
Strain.
if I hear that one more time, I'm going to lose it. I just can't get over it.
That's Frankie's favorite. Frankie loves that. That's a good strain, Frankie. What do you
King
think?
of strain. Can we get some players who are good instead of straining? Do Nathan Shepard maybe?
Yeah.
We could tackle somebody. How about?
Yeah.
If we keep Nathan Shepard over Tanzel Smart because of strain, I'm going to lose it.
Right. See, Joe, thank you. I'm 100% with you there. I know it's an interesting thing. I think, and we'll dovetail this and we'll kind of move over to the defense a little bit. And I have some good questions. Watts UK found a couple of your questions in the chat, and we're going to get to that, some 53-man roster stuff and so on. But as far as, look, there's been a lot going on in the preseason games right now. I know we're making more out of it than we should. We all know that. That's all right. And we're going to do it as that's us. We're Jets fans. We're going to bitch. And that's kind of how it goes. But that all said, the defense that we've trotted out the first two preseason games, whether starters are in there or not, it just looks a lot like a carbon copy of the issues that we had last year. Not necessarily that the players aren't good enough. It's the same schematic issues, a lot of space, things like that, inability to stop a screen, players looking like they might be out of position as opposed to making bad decisions at times. Where do you stand on the kind of vanilla aspect of the defense as a whole? I know Frankie has some specific questions, but speaking to it on like a more grander scale, where do you stand? Are you concerned like a lot of other people about this, the way the defense looks in the preseason, or do you think this is all by design, guys? Just sit tight and we're fine.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in the middle. Like it's not like you ideally want to see the defense getting shredded, but at the same point, I'll be worried in the regular season because right now it's cover 3 zone spot dropping. They're not man matching, not doing anything like that. Which in my opinion, they did too much spot dropping last year, and they need to learn to man match, and that's why you see some problems like you saw with the scissors concept where Jordan White had missed the tackle. They didn't pass that off properly. And to be honest, like with the Falcons, like watching that game, I just put up the film review, like Arthur Smith, and this, for lack of a better term, like he was almost a try-hard against this defense. Like he knew they're going to be running a lot of cover 3. The weakness in cover 3 is the immediacy in the flat, and he would run tighter formations, and then he would attack the immediacy of the flat with layered concepts like sail concepts, cover 3 beaters. He was just running cover 3 beaters consistently, where again guys would be late to the flat. He'd throw the ball, they throw the ball to get some yaks. So it was almost so simple. I'm not concerned about it because it just seemed like the Jet staff just didn't care. Like, okay, just beat us on consistently on cover 3, and maybe they were letting their guys maybe adjust to how to get or getting beat on cover 3. Not like you don't want to say, hey, get beat here, and this is great, right. But you want to put your guys in bad situations. Like, hey, cover 2 versus smash concept. What are you going to do? You're not necessarily in the most ideal situation, but how are you going to react to that? But then when you compile that with you're going to spot drop and you're running tighter formations, which is really going to exemplify that weakness in the flat, and they just keep attacking it. It's going to look really bad, and it was. And initially the first drive too, it's not like we got torched in the red zone. Breece Hall unfortunately got toasted by one of the most athletic tight, probably not. Let me backtrack. Right. Probably the most athletic tight end in the NFL. Maybe like Jelani Woods is out there and stuff like that, but like Pitts is probably the most athletic guy out there. And I'm not saying the best, obviously. So yeah, Bryce Hall got torched by him, but after that they did rally. They let up obviously another touchdown, or was it another touchdown or multiple field goals? I forget, but they let up a couple of other drives, which is slightly concerning. But at the end of the day, regular season, if I'm starting to see cover 3 spot dropping just consistently, I'm going to lose it because they did too much of that last year. So it does trickle in because it is something we saw, but at the same time, did this defense progress in their second year just in terms of the defense and adding some wrinkles and man matching and things like that?
I got to say, Frankie, I really like what he said there. It's almost like, all right, look, we're going to run this. We want to see how these players are going to react. Like, okay, what do you do in that situation? Like if that a little bit of that's going on, I think I would be okay with that. Utilizing the preseason for that, I would be okay. Like, okay, look, we're putting you in this position. What you see, show us what you're going to do. Show us what decision you're supposed to make in that scenario. I think that would be an acceptable method from my vantage point over here. I don't know if it's happening, but I like it. So, Frankie, you had some good questions about the defense. I know that I want to hear what you had to ask Joe as far as the cornerbacks and some other things.
Well, Joe mentioned Bryce Hall, so I have a question that pertains both to the coaching staff decisions and then Bryce Hall specifically. I think he, Kyle Pitts kind of embarrassed him on national television by, saying he was scared pedaling, which is not exactly a good technique to be doing. I believe as a cornerback, I'm no expert, but I don't think that's what you want. But my question to Joe really is about the fact that the decision-making, the coaching staff, so they haven't decided on who the left cornerback is yet, according to Saleh. We all know it's Sauce Gardner. There's no decision to be made. And my question is about the fact that, okay, Bryce Hall then is going to be a backup. So should we or should we not in practice be training Bryce Hall to be the left cornerback and the right cornerback and increase his versatility because he's going to be on the bench? And aren't we sort of holding him back by not making this decision by this point in time and saying, okay, Sauce is the starter. Bryce, I'm sorry. We love you. You're great, but you're the backup. And now you need to learn left, right, maybe even dime or something else.
Mm-hmm.
So is that an issue or is that just in my head and I'm crazy?
So maybe just a little crazy, but not for this. But so the thing with Bryce Hall is he did play some right cornerback and left cornerback last year. Now I know initially he was on the left side of the defense, the right side of the offense for quite a bit. And then sometime around maybe the Texans game, off the top of my head, he started to move around a little bit. So he is cross-trained there. And again, this is another like part of the situation where you just have to acknowledge, like, we don't know 95% of what's happening. Unless I don't know if you guys are seeing like practice reports of, okay, he's only lining up on one side or the other. But I do think he is trained enough on both sides, and he will be the primary backup for both sides. I don't think he's ever going to be in the slot or at safety like some people think he will be. But again, it's just another situation where we have to acknowledge we don't necessarily know what's going on in practice. Now, if we do know, and if we do have information that it's okay, he's only playing on one side, then it's a problem, right? And the same thing with Sauce too. Like, at the end of the day, I don't love corners locking on islands or on sides, because what if they just smart teams do? Hey, Sauce is dominating our receivers. Let's just move them to the other side. Like, it can't be that simple. So I think the Jets will move past that. And I think that's what they learned last year, moving some of their guys around. And I'm hoping that they take that lesson and can continue to like implement it this year, just in terms of moving the corners, the defensive line rotations, the receiver rotations. Like, there's some problems I have with the coaching staff that I need to see them rebound from, just in terms of how they substitute, how they're playing guys. And the Bryce Hall just staying on the left or right side last year was an issue for me, but I do think that they are going to have him ready to play either side.
Yeah. Well, and so what do you think about like the way that the defense is breaking down? Like Frankie said, I think, I understand making the rook earn it. I get it as far as Sauce Gardner. Jermaine Johnson's not going to start either. That's fine. I'm good with all that stuff. Matter of fact, I think I prefer that as opposed to like just drafting a guy and going, here's the keys to our kingdom, the whole house, here's yours. I'd rather make them work, kind of like Carl Lawson was on record as saying he's not Sauce here yet. He's Ahmad or Ahmed, or however. He's got to earn that Sauce shit. So I like that. I really do. At the same time, more than likely, he's going to be our starter alongside DJ Reed. Now, depending on the package, if we have Bryce Hall alongside of Michael Carter II out there, and we have one high safety, however it is that they choose to line them up is going to remain to be seen. But how do you think this defense is going to play best? Are we with like running two linebackers out there and having an extra DB? What are you seeing from these? From the players that we have, what do you think would be the most impactful lineup? I understanding completely that it's going to depend on plays and all that, but just in general, what do you see with where the talent is on this defense?
Yeah, obviously, like if they're running like 22 personnel, we're not going to run out dime. Like that's
right.
That's very obvious. But yeah, the Sauce thing, and Frankie mentioned that. I'm sorry I didn't kind of respond to that, but like he's starting. There's no doubt about it. Like the way the guys playing in practice and joint practices, even in the game, like the preseason game, it doesn't look like he did a lot. There was two plays I highlighted that were very, very, very impressive to me, just in terms of understanding leverages and concepts, and I broke that down. And it was just in terms of they run a smash variation. I believe it was a wolf concept, which I get into in my stuff. I'm not going to talk about that, but they run a smash variation at Sauce Gardner. Sauce Gardner knows that the corner route from the number 2 is going to outflank the deep third safety. So he sits on that a little bit. Speed turns back to the flat where he knows that the flat defender, which was Pinnock, was going to be late to the flat because of a play action and just his alignment in terms of getting to the flat. So he did really, really good things that don't really show up again on broadcast, but I was really impressed with Sauce. There's absolutely no way that Sauce is not starting. He's playing. Right. Reed is playing. I'm a little bit concerned about safety, but I think the Jets' best set, like we've all been talking about, is the 4-2-5. For me, getting guys like Michael Carter II in there over guys like Quincy Williams or Quan Alexander is the best bet. To me, Michael Carter II is probably a Jet, or he definitely is a Jet who's a little bit more underrated by fans. I think his rookie year was pretty good, and I think that he's going to come back this year and be at least an average to plus average starter at the slot position, which is more than I can say for either one of Quincy or Quan. So getting Michael Carter onto the field, and a guy who in the slot is also another really good tackler, which is important, something that people overlook in terms of slot players. Like, it's not only do you have to guard the receiver who's 5'8", 180 and runs a 4.3, you also have to be able to tackle in the slot, because you could be that force defender on the outside. And Michael Carter is really good at both those things. His versatility, I like him a lot. So I think the best bet is for the Jets to run a lot of nickel, because I'm not very comfortable with their linebackers, from all the way from Quincy down, there's a bunch of question marks, a little bit of safety too, but yeah, exactly. And good ad by Quan, good ad for Quan. But like, even if Mosley goes down right now, and let's say they are running a heavy personnel and it is 22 personnel and they're stacking the box and you're running 3 linebackers out there, are we comfortable with Quan, Quincy, and Sherwood? I'm not. Yeah, so it's a big need going into next year.
Yeah, and I think, look, we're running into a lot of that where the Jets staff likes players. Like, they've gone out on record and said it. They like Jamie and Sherwood. They want him to start. That's their guy. They've kind of done some similar, at least alluding to the same thing with guys like with LaMarcus Joyner and maybe even Jason Pinnock. Now, we're all concerned out here with some of these guys. We look at these spots as maybe even weaknesses, at bare minimum, question marks. What do you think? What's going on? Do you think that, like, we really stand to watch guys like Jason Pinnock, Jamie Sherwood, and the like actually become NFL quality starters right from the gate this year? Or do you think we're going to have to watch like a whole long period of adjustment and more excuses going, well, hey guys, it's his first time ever starting, and you know how we do that? Are we looking for another year of that stuff? Or are they going to realistically come out of the gate and be what Saleh thinks they can be?
Yeah, I'm hoping so, because this defense, like, regardless of the injuries and everything we had, was one of the worst defenses, or if not the worst defense the Jets have ever trotted out there for an entire season. So regardless of excuses, we've been plenty stripped of talent before, and we didn't play as bad as they did last year, which is a concern. And they added some talent to this team, but the primary concern with the defense last year, we all know it was the run defense. And they didn't add much to said run defense. Now, I know guys like, Sauce and Whitehead and Reed are all going to help out, but they're not going to be the primary run stuffer. So I think they're still going to struggle mightily with the run game, which is a concern, because we're talking about the AFC North at first, obviously, which is a run-heavy division. And with that, you're compiling that problem with the fact that the Jets run a lot of light practices. We hear about them 7-on-7s and not being able to tackle all this stuff. So You're playing a run-heavy division immediately with a team who is more prone to miss tackles and things like that because of how the Jets practice initially to start the season. Added on to the fact that they don't have necessarily the scheme or the talent to really be stuffing the run. So I think that the defense is going to be definitely the bottom half of the league defense. But I think with the Jets, if they are able to get early leads and they are able to implement that pass rush and get it consistently going, that they can force some turnovers and they could be a good defense. But I think they're going to be a really hit or miss defense. If teams get up early on the Jets, 2-3 scores, and they're able to run the ball down their throats, I just can't see them being able to consistently stop them. So leads early for the Jets is important. I think that kind of goes without saying for every other team, but really for the Jets, it is important. And the problem with that too is, like, you have Zach Wilson, who kind of starts slow in games. Like, you see him miss the first 1, 2, 3, 4 passes because he's a little bit nervous. So I know we all have our green glasses on, all that stuff, and you kind of said it, Greenbean, like you're getting a little bit nervous. Why? Because the season's actually coming.
Yeah,
that's
I know. I felt
reason.
so good during the draft. I was like, yeah, man, we're awesome. Now I'm like, holy shit, here we go. We're gonna start getting beat up.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see with the defense. I'm hoping that they can figure it out. A lot of those players were playing in more 3-4 hybrid schemes, so I'm hoping with another year of learning and just being more comfortable in the scheme, they could learn how to adjust to a trap run or a wham or a power. Because going into week 2 last year, I was concerned because Bill Belichick is, I think it's pretty safe to say he's one of the best coaches of all time. And knowing the Jets scheme 4-3 and being a little bit light in the pants and the interior, I knew they're going to attack them with draws and all that, and they did. And then teams just followed suit, and it got destroyed all year. So we really have to hope, as a fan base, that the run defense takes a step in the right direction this year.
Yeah. All right. Look, I'm gonna have a little fun here, and then I want to turn it over to Frankie. I want to see what you think about our defensive line. Okay, like, we brought in a bunch of guys. We have even some of the quieter guys, or maybe less suspecting guys like Bradley and I showing up a little bit in preseason game 2, having himself a good game. Realistically, how many defensive linemen are we keeping? Is it 9? Is it 10? Is it 11? What do you see? And who do you think those guys are? Who's going to get the axe this year? We talked about Nathan Shepard a little bit. Is he going to make it over some of these guys that maybe look a little better because Saleh likes to strain with him? Or, how do you see it? How many defensive linemen, and what are their names?
Yeah, it's really hard because we only want to say 9 or 10, but then you look at the talent. Like, do I really want to cut a Jonathan Marshall who flashed in the preseason game, or Denzel Smart who consistently dominates throughout preseason, even though last game is a little bit slow, to be transparent with him? So do you want to cut one of those guys for a Tyreek Black at your 6th-string receiver? I personally don't. So I think the Jets are going to go light at some positions where people may think like, six receivers. I think they're probably only going to keep 5. Just based on the talent. And my end of the day prediction is going to be 11 defensive linemen. I know it's a lot, but I just can't see them getting rid of some of the talent that they have. The defensive tackles, if we're going to go through the list, it's going to be Quinton Williams. I'll count JFM on the inside because that's where he's most effective, so I'll count him on the inside. You're going to have Sheldon Rankins, you're going to have Solomon Thomas, and then I think it's going to be one of Nathan Shepard, Denzel Smart, or Jonathan Marshall. For whatever reason, the coaching staff is infatuated with Nathan Shepard because he strains. But again, if you strain, you're not good. I don't get the strain thing, but it'll be Nathan Shepard.
Right? Yeah, right. Why are you straining so much, man? Why you? What? That's actually could be construed as a negative, Joe. Right?
If you had good technique, maybe you wouldn't have to strain as hard. So that's 5, and then the 6 defense, the 6 DNs, you're looking at JJ Lawson, Vinny Curry, Huff. And there's 2 others I'm blanking. Clemens, and then there's one more I'm blanking out on who I can't think of off the top of my head. Martin, Jacob Martin. So I think it's going to be 11 in total. I could see them maybe cutting Curry to let another guy squeak in, but 10 is the absolute minimum I see for this defensive line. It's just too talented, and especially how much they preach rotation, which obviously comes to fruition on the field too, because they really do rotate that much. I think they will want to continue to be really, really deep there and not get rid of that talent.
All right, so Frankie, throw one at him. I'm going to get over there. He mentioned Zach Wilson, and I realized I haven't even talked about him yet. It's an hour into the show. I gotta get some opinions on Zachy Poo and his nerves. So Frankie, if keeping it to the defense, or you can ask whatever you want. Actually, if it's not defense, that's okay.
Yeah, we'll do one more defense. I mean, when I think of the cover 3, Joe, and Seattle 3, I think of Earl Thomas. I don't know what you think about, but maybe I'm a little nutty, but it seems to me we don't have a free safety who's anything close to Earl Thomas. And so my question to you is, how important is that if we're going to continue on cover 3 as much as we have seen, and hopefully we don't, but even if we do, and then in general, how worried are you about LaMarcus Joyner, and perhaps how excited are you maybe about Jason Pinnock? Maybe not this year, maybe next year, that type of thing.
Yeah, that middle third of the defense is really, really important in the cover 3. And you hear a lot of corners talking about it coming from that Seattle system, and then when they play with Earl Thomas, how free they were to do whatever they want, whether it be a jump a ball or play a concept more aggressively, because they had a guy in Earl Thomas in the middle who can make up for them. So it is really important. It's much more important than a corner or a safety in a cover 2, because it's more generic what they're asked to do. So cover 3, the middle safety is really important. Like you said, I think it's safe to say we don't necessarily have an Earl Thomas out there or an Ed Reed or any one of these guys. I'm concerned about safety. I am. Linebacker, I'm concerned. And again, safety, we want to kind of like, oh, well, Pinnock can be this and Ashton Davis can be that. But like at the end of the day, I think we're reaching a little bit because we're Jets fans. Like these guys haven't really proven much of anything. Joyner hasn't played safety since 2018, was injured last year. Pinnock, I get that he has the physical capability to play safety, but to me last year, watching what I did, he was actually late on a couple of those plays against the Texans and the Jaguars, and he got lucky that the ball was out late and was lofted up there because he was beat pretty easily. But again, you don't see that on broadcast. The ball is shucked up there. He makes up the ground. Okay, great, but hey, you just let up 15 yards of cushion. Why were you there so late? So Pinnock's end of the season wasn't overly impressive to me. He had a couple of like nice tackles against the Trevor Lawrence. We also had that big missed tackle against the Texans in the red zone, which I believe led up a touchdown when the guy was right in front of his face. So there's potential for Pinnock, but it's potential. There's not really much more than that. He hasn't proven much of anything. And then past that, what else is there? Ashton Davis has been a complete bust. Will Parks is okay at best. So I think at safety you have Whitehead and a bunch of Jags at the position. So, I think it's going to be something that need to look into heavily next year.
If that's the case, Joe, then why are we playing so much cover 3? Does it make sense to play cover 3 with that personnel?
Yeah. So, and the thing with the defense is like they played 3. Obviously, they were one of the heaviest teams in man coverage on third down last year. So they're going to implement more of that this year as well, in my opinion, just based on having DJ Reed and having Sauce Gardner, who you could get away with a little bit just in terms of like him playing man or zone, because if you play him on the backside of like a 3-by-1 ISO, he pretty much, if you're running that zone match system, it becomes man coverage at a certain point anyway. So I think you're going to see Sauce in some zone looks where like PFF statistics will say, oh, well, it's a zone rep for Sauce, but really because it's a 3 lock, it's man coverage. It's just intertwined into his own system. But they did play 6, they did play 1, they did play 4. So they're not so strict cover 3. That's all you're going to see like at Seattle of 2015. So regardless of the system, though, you're going to need some good safeties. Like to me, I think safeties are a little bit overlooked at the NFL level because they can do a lot of everything.
We were talking about this, Joe, and I really appreciated the fact that you said it. I think it was even pre-draft. We were talking, and you mentioned that it's like, everybody says, oh, it's not a value position, or it's not a premier position. I'm sorry. And it's like, yeah, maybe, but it's incredibly important. I think we've kind of gotten into these little categories and fans just, with all due respect to everybody and wherever their knowledge base is strong or weaker. But like we've gotten into this kind of mode the last 3-4 years that safety's like, you can just throw a safety in there. It's not a big deal. And the Jets, if any fan should know, we have had such a tumultuous last 2 or 3 years with our safety positions, injuries and all this shit. And we've seen how detrimental it can be. What is that? Why do we think that safeties just are not important? It's so incredibly valuable and we don't have any. I mean, look, I make the joke Wild Goose. Thankfully, he's looked decent in preseason, but it's like Will Parks, Wild Goose, LaMarcus Joyner. That's really, and then obviously Jason Pinnock, that's really who we're talking about here. And we had all offseason to address it. It's one of the areas alongside a linebacker that I'm most concerned with. What the hell is going on, Joe? Why does nobody think safety is important anymore?
I don't get it. Cause like to me, like, and it's not like a direct comparison. It's definitely not, but like safety is almost like the tight end of defense. Like they're asked to do everything. You're asked to cover, you're asked to cover running backs. You're asked to cover tight ends. You're asked to cover receivers. You're asked to fill in the run game. You're asked to be the last line of defense. So I don't get the whole safety is important. Just like I didn't get the whole corner is an important and solid system this offseason. Tell me in what situation is a safety not important? Like I don't get that narrative, and I'll never agree with it. So the devaluing of that position is kind of crazy to me. And even in general, like I think people put too much stock into like the corners and the tackles, which I get are important, but you can get toasted with a bad linebacker. You can get toasted with a bad safety. Look, LaMarcus Joyner came out of week 1 last year, and then what is it? Sheldrick Redwine, right?
Yeah, Sheldrick Redwine. That was Robbie.
We had a cast of thousands come in, Adrian Colbert and everybody else.
Yeah, but it was
Gerard
that.
Wilson
but he's right. Wilson. As soon as LaMarcus Joyner went down. Within moments, Sheldrick Redwine was running around there flat-footed. Robbie Anderson just torched him, and we got to see the Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson jet thing. Oh, how sweet. How nice. Yeah.
That hurt. I was in Carolina for that one too. So it's not fun to watch that. But yeah, safeties are important. So I don't get the downplaying of safety. Now, with that being said, with Joe Douglas, I know both of you guys are Joe Douglas supporters, and I am too. I am more process versus results, and I don't disagree with a lot of his process. The result sometimes doesn't work out, but it is what it is. And surrounding Zach Wilson with as much talent on offense this year as possible was the right move to me, because if we're going to take some lumps, I'd rather have to be at safety or linebacker than at right tackle, left tackle, tight end, which to me last year, the tight end position was one of the biggest oversights that was one of my main problems with Joe Douglas. Listen, you're bringing a rookie who's rookie's best friend are the tight end. We all know that. And you're bringing in a rookie OC who is heavily reliant on heavy tight end personnel, and you give him Ryan Griffin and Tyler Kroft. This is what we're working with. So for Joe Douglas to really throw all of his chips in on the offense this year and leave some holes in defense, I get it. But safety and linebacker, even D tackle next year are definitely going to be big needs, and we're going to see them let up some plays this year, to say the least.
Yeah, and look, I think we're dependent on this pass rush to account for some of that, and maybe that's going to work. Maybe. I think we've already seen the results are out there. I mean, when you have an aggressive defensive line, and they're just gonna, in Ulbricht's words, there's a fire under their ass or their hair's on fire. If they're going to do that, it's very, very easy to capitalize on that if you know it's coming. And we saw it all last year. We saw it in the preseason. So I'm hoping that whatever they do accounts for some of these weaknesses. But going over to the offense quickly, like we talked about, we have Zach Wilson. And you just brought up the tight ends, which is funny because this is the way I was going to go. And there's Thomas Cahill's in the chat bringing up tight ends as well. I was finally happy to see Joe Douglas put some resources into tight end, and not just one, two free agents and a third-round pick on top of, we do have, a couple young guys that like people like myself. I'm high on Kenny Yeboah. I'm kind of done with Wesco. And but anyway, we have a nice stable of tight ends for the first time in a very, very long time. But as far as Zach Wilson, number one, if Joe Flacco comes in and he plays just lights out, he gets his revenge game, he throws for 4 bills and we win. And then Zach Wilson's out maybe the next week, and then we go into Cleveland and we beat them up, the Jacoby Brissett Cleveland's, and Joe Flacco's 2-0. Is there any world where you're not taking him out because he's the backup quarterback and putting in your young rookie? Or are you going to ride the hot hand, hoping that we have Testaverde Paisan saving the day number 2? What do you think from Joe Blewett's mouth? I want to know, is there a world where you keep Joe Flacco in, or without question, you're throwing Zach back in there?
You throw Zach back in there when he's ready to play. You're not getting anywhere with Joe Flacco. He's 37 years old. If he plays well, wins you 7-8 games, he comes back at 38 years old and wins you another 7-8 games, you're stuck in purgatory with that. So I'd rather not. You got to figure out what Zach Wilson is this year. Now, could I see in a situation where, let's say he's ready to play week 2, but he's 99% and you're ready to play him, maybe you sit him an extra week to have him come into a home game. I could see that, maybe a week. But, because then what are you going to do if he's playing well week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Then what? Zach comes in for half the season and we're still unsure going into year 3 of Zach Wilson. We really don't know what we have. So you play Zach Wilson when he's healthy. Again, it's not like Joe Flacco is young enough to lead the franchise in the future. And we all know This year is not necessarily about the Super Bowl. This year is about competing, but it's a lot about learning what Zach Wilson is, and him staying on the bench. We're not going to be able to do that. So.
Yeah. Well, and I like what you said, Joe. Process is important. And that's been the difference. That's really why I'm a Joe Douglas fan. It's not necessarily that he's hitting on every pick. It's that for the first time in a long time, what our GM is doing and how he's going about doing it actually resembles what, the way that a team should be built. It actually looks like the way you're supposed to do it, as opposed to just random pick. Oh yeah, I'm going to take a defensive tackle. Oh yeah, we're going to do that. It made zero sense for a long time. And at least there's that. I like the thought process behind the building of the team. Now it's about obviously utilizing the talent and getting it down to coaching, but the tight ends, Thomas Cahill checks in. This is an interesting question. I think Jet Nation is kind of split right now. And I think, a lot of people, we get excited about what we're seeing in front of us. And then Lawrence Cager is a guy that has a lot of Jet fans super crazy excited. My concern with him is that his talent was always there, even at the wide receiver position. He's got the measurables, he's got the talent. The problem with him is that he has not found a way to stay healthy for more than a 4-game stretch in 6 years. So that's 4 in college, 1 in Georgia, then in Miami, and the 2 years with the Jets and the Cleveland Browns. He has not stayed healthy for more than 4 games. So I'm concerned. What are your thoughts about Cager, and who do you see him pushing off the roster if we do in fact go with the hot hand in Lawrence Cager? How do you see this one? Do you have the balls to push off maybe a Yeboah or somebody else for a guy who hasn't been able to stay healthy?
Yeah, the Cager thing, and I'm gonna get some hate for this one, but his preseason is largely overrated. Like his first game, he ran 2 slide routes which were wide open, in which he got yak. The second game, it was a choice route underneath of a clear out. He made the right decision breaking inside, which was a very easy decision to make. He caught the ball. He ran for easy yards, not breaking any tackle. Tackles got brought down. So to me, Cager, his preseason has been, again, largely overrated because people just look, they see the stats. Oh, he had a good game. PFF from was a 91. Holy crap, he's great. So I don't necessarily fall in line with that. So I think he, and like you said, he has had injury problems. So that doesn't aid to him being, again, that consistent number 4. And he doesn't block really. So to me, that 4th spot is it's a competition between guys like Cager, Yeboah, Wesco, even though I don't love to say it because Wesco has been a little disappointing, even though I liked him coming out of West Virginia.
I did too, honest. Joe. I mean, 4 years I've been saying, no, he's good. He's good. And it's at some point, right? At some point, you got to.
So, but I think that tight end 4 might be a combination of those guys. But with that kind of tight end, do you keep a Wesco at tight end 4 so you don't have to keep a Bawden? Because if you keep a Yeboah or a Cager, in my opinion, you're going to have to keep a Bawden. So that's 2 spots instead of maybe Yeboah filling Wesco filling both roles of tight end 4 and the fullback. So I think that at the end of the day, even though he's not a fan favorite, I think it might be Wesco at tight end 4 because he could do both roles and he saves kind of, again, 2 roster spots into 1. I know people, again, love Yeboah and they love Cager, but I just don't see the Jets having a receiving only type of tight end as their tight end 4, even though, to be fair, I didn't key in on him the entire game, but in the first preseason game, Yeboah was blocking a little bit better than I thought he would. So that's a positive for Yeboah. But again, I think just for the purpose of keeping the roster as condensed as they can and fitting in plenty of defensive linemen, I think they might squeeze a Wesco instead of the fan favorites of Cager or Yeboah.
It really is going to be interesting. Like you said, I mean, look, at some point we have to lose some of these guys. I mean, we run out of space. I mean, we can't have 5 tight ends, 6 wide receivers, 11 defensive linemen, 10 offensive line. It's just like, as much as we want to, we can't do it. And I think Cager, as exciting as, look, hey, Jets fans want to get excited about the guy. He clearly put in the work. He gained 25 pounds or so. So he's motivated. Okay. That's great. And I'm rooting for a guy like that. I always am. But can you really give him a roster spot when his issue has not been talent? So, and then like you said, you got the fullbacks. They want a fullback. You got Bawden, and it's like we start running into some real issues. Now, do I have you for like a few more minutes, Joe?
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Yep.
I want to get to a question. Then I wanted to take a swing real quick. If we could do a preliminary 53. I know I picked your brain about the defensive line, but I want to just see if real quick we can kind of put together a 53, see what you and Frankie are thinking, where we kind of hit a wall, and if we're all on the same page. But I wanted to get to Y2K's question. It's interesting because I got to admit, I've been thinking the same thing. Where the hell is Jacob Martin? I was a little bit excited about that signing, a little quieter, but we committed. We gave him a decent contract for what he's accomplished. And he's a fiery guy, and I think having him in the rotation could really be exciting and beneficial. But we've heard nothing, not even in practice. He just hasn't done anything. Any thoughts? What do you know? You have guys on the in damn practice. Have you heard anything about this guy?
No, I really haven't. But the thing is, and this is another one of those guys that, okay, well, I just kind of maybe crapped on some people's opinions of Cager and Yeboah. Jacob Martin's an underrated signing to me. I think him coming in for 30-35% of the reps, maybe 40 in some games. He's probably one of the more athletic, if not the most athletic Jets on the team, just in terms of his explosion, his bend. And if you're going to kind of case him in and let him just explode for a couple of times a game, I think he's going to be a very effective pass rusher for the Jets. Now, obviously, it depends on how many pass rushing opportunities they're getting in said game, but I think he's going to make plenty of an impact. It's unfortunate he hasn't made much of an impact in camp or anything like that. But again, like, we don't know what's going on. We really have no idea. Maybe when he's going in, they're trying to transition him more into a edge defender who could play a little bit of the run, and they're having him play past the run instead of just straight pass. And he's going to struggle with the run aspect of it, so he's not making as big of an impact. Like, there's so many things that could be happening. And do we necessarily trust all the people who are there watching practice to give us reports about what they're doing? I personally don't trust everybody.
We only trust Robbie Sabo. That's it. One guy, Robbie.
I don't even trust Robbie.
I mean, he does think he's the William Shakespeare of the beat reporters, but other than that, I trust him the most out of everybody.
No, and with practice too, it is so hard to see what's going on because, like, people don't realize you're on the field. They're 30 yards away from you. They are massive human beings. So you can't even see over the first guy. So how are you going to see, the third, fourth, fifth guy past that first guy? Like, it is really, really hard to evaluate practice. So am I going to get, am I going to look into Jacob Martin not making an impact? No, not too much, because the film proved over the last couple of years that he's a really impactful player. But yeah, like you said, Frankie, like, I went to plenty of practices, and sitting on the sideline, it's almost impossible. Like, you can see the splash stuff, but it's really, really hard to evaluate exactly what guys are doing. And running backs, defensive line, offensive linemen are all positions, or those are the three top positions that are almost impossible to really put stock in whatever you're hearing.
I know. And look, and the truth is, kind of dovetailing with what you said, we don't really know what the Jets are trying to accomplish, in practice and in preseason. We don't know. They might be, 100% locked in on what Jacob Martin brings. We don't need to even see him. We want to see these other guys that are battling. We don't know. I mean, that's the truth of it. But it is interesting. He's been ominously absent from any reports, and you would think at least a little bubble up here and there. Hey, Jacob Martin was seen today. Jacob Martin's here. I don't even know if I've seen Jacob Martin. Those little Instagram clips that the Jets put out, like, what's your favorite rapper or something? I haven't even seen Jacob Martin on those, man. He's
the secret weapon, GreenBean. We're saving him.
I got it. Okay.
Keep it under wraps. He's the secret weapon. We're unleashing him during the season. The Ravens won't know what hit him.
There you go. Joe, before we get to the 53, how concerned are you for the Ravens and what their offense is bringing? Like, just them in particular. They are, they got the running game, they got the screens, they got the Lamar Jackson, and they got the tight ends. So all the things that
they got the systems, they got the coach in place forever, and they have their stuff down. You watch them in preseason, and all the fundamentals are there. It doesn't matter who's in there. That's what impresses me. But that's me.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, you're right.
Joe.
What do you think, Joe? Are you spooked? I mean, I'm gonna be hanging out. I'm gonna be sitting right next to you, so we'll be able to see how we really feel that day. But for now, how you feeling about that game? Are you spooked?
I'm always spooked. I'm a Jets fan, and obviously we haven't won a September game since 2018, right? So, like, I want to be optimistic, and I am in certain aspects. Like, okay, they might have the tight end advantage, but we have the receiver advantage on them. Like, our corners can beat up on their receivers. Sauce can lock down with Bateman's. Like, there's always a chance, but in terms of, like, some of the worst matchups possible for Week 1, it is the Ravens. Like, let's just be honest. You're looking at a team who was a Super Bowl contender last year, who was mightily injured. Obviously, we were as well, but you're looking at a very good rushing attack with really good tight ends. Like you said, GreenBean, what have we struggled against? Really good rushing attacks and really good tight ends. So it's a litmus test. And it's just, to me, like, it's not even, oh, well, the hard teams first. It's just the fact that the Jets run light practices. And I think they're going to, if they are going to be a decent run defense, it's not going to be immediately. Like, they're going to be a better run defense at the end of 2022 than they are at the beginning. So I'd rather catch these type of teams towards the end when they're really kind of solidified in their scheme. But seeing them right off the jump, I don't have a good feeling about it. But at the end of the day, Week 1 is one of those weeks where anything can happen. And I think the Jets could. It's not like they can't win that game. It is possible. They are talented enough this year, in my opinion, to be a 7, 8, 9 win team. So there's no reason they can't beat the Ravens. It's just not an ideal matchup. But at the same time, we could say, okay, well, the Jets have all these edge rushers, and Lamar Jackson struggles against the blitz sometimes and pressure. So it can happen. We can win. We will win. But at the same time, I'm kind of little bit scared.
Yeah. And look, that all said, and I agree with every word you just said. That all said, I think we're going to win because, like, look, week 1 is crazy. Don't forget the Ravens had all kinds of injuries. They're coming back from a losing season, all kinds of stuff. And there's still the very realistic possibility that they're going to think that they're going to come into MetLife and spank us around. It's September 11th. There's a lot of things stacking in our favor, at least emotionally and all that. And we are talented, man. Let's be real here. For the first time in a very long time, we're trotting out, if they all stay healthy for the next 17 days or whatever it might be, we have a talented roster and a talented roster of young guys that don't know that I'm on the Jets, I'm supposed to suck. They still think they can have actual careers, these fucking guys. They don't know that they're on the Jets. They're like, I'm going to be the best. Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, all these guys. So anything can happen. And if we can get something going, it's Flacco revenge game. Hey, man, he might be a man possessed. Garrett Wilson knows how to get open X, Y, and Z. So let's see if that can happen. Now, moving it over, I want to quickly take a shot at this with you. I want to see if we can align on a quick 53, and we'll start with offense. Number one, how many quarterbacks are we keeping? Is it Zach Wilson, Joe Flacco, Mike Effin White, and Streveler, or what is this? Are you on the Streveler train, Joe? What do you think?
Yeah, the problem is, like, for me, like, you're talking about so many talented guys, like even at corners like 6 or 7, like you're talking about like Guidry versus Hardy, like who are they going to cut there? How much right. Slack does a Boyer have to bring on his Pro Bowl level Hardy that he mentioned a couple of days or weeks ago, or whatever it was. So to me, I wanted to carry 2 quarterbacks. Unfortunately, Zach Wilson's injured, so if we're going to do the real way, then it's going to be 3 until Zach Wilson's back, and then I think you try to sneak a Mike White or a Streveler onto the practice squad. I think that Streveler could make it there. Maybe. I don't think Mike White does. I would prefer to see Streveler over Mike White, to be completely honest. I think Mike White last year was largely, again, overrated. Like, he got through his reads, he checked it down great. Michael Carter was elite in the Bengals game, but he didn't really do much of anything. And in this preseason, like, let's just be fair, like, he's looked like absolute garbage. Like, he really has. And I know last week he completed like 12 of 17, good passing percentage, all that stuff, but it's for like 97 yards. Like, he wasn't doing much of anything. He doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me. At least Streveler, you could throw some interesting wrinkles into a game plan with him, the way he runs the ball. So I think initially it's realistically, the Jets probably carry Mike White because, again, I think they have an infatuation with him for whatever reason. So it's probably Wilson, Flacco, White. I would prefer it to be just Wilson, Flacco, but with the Wilson situation, it's probably Wilson, or I would prefer it to be Wilson, Flacco, Streveler, but yeah, it's probably going to be Wilson,
and I don't
Flacco.
know. I mean, look, the truth is, Joe, is that Mike White's contract is not guaranteed. So it's $2.45 million. If they decide that Streveler is even on the same plane as Mike Effin White, then they might just choose to save the 2.5 and go spend it on something else. I don't know. And here's the thing with Mike White real quick is that, like, yes, he was playing the ones and all that kind of stuff, but he did start the third quarter too. So Streveler came in and played the exact same personnel in large part that Mike Effin White couldn't do anything with. And he came in and drove us first drive touchdown. It was a completely different offense with Streveler. So I think I might be leaning, and I'm not throwing stones at Mike White or anything, but I might be leaning that way too. Frankie, are you keeping another quarterback? Are you good with what Joe said there? 2?
Yeah, I think that's logical. There's not a lot to be done. I mean, maybe you could try to trade Mike White, but the problem is other teams look at the tape and they're going to find out that Mike White is not something that they want. I mean, a team like the Bears could use a backup quarterback, but I'm not so sure they're going to want Mike White per se. So,
yeah. All right. So I'm good with that. Now let's move it over to running back. We got lots of debate. Now I'm still holding on for my boy, LaMichael Pirine. He's had himself a good camp, good preseason like he does every year. Let's see if this staff can actually figure out that he's a better option than the aging Tevin Coleman, in my opinion. But Joe, who we keeping? How many? You can, slide over with fullback as well. But how many running backs we keeping, and what are their names?
Yeah, I think it's it's a little bit difficult with the whole fullback situation with Bawden, because we'll get into tight end in a little bit. But to me, again, it's like, what do you want versus what do the Jets want? So to me, I think the Jets will carry 4, and especially for a run-heavy system, a lot of people talk about 3. I think they will carry 4 again because they want to run the ball a lot. So it's going to be obviously Hall, Carter, Coleman. I think is still in there just as the vet and a guy who I think is serviceable when he carries the ball, nothing more than that. And then it's Zonovan Knight at 4 for me. I could see the argument for P. Ryan. I can't see Ty Johnson anymore. That's done. But I see it as P. Ryan versus Knight. I just think with the special teams impact that Knight can have, that they'll bring him on again. Multifaceted. Like the guys, the 51st, 52nd, 53rd guy need to be impactful in multiple ways. And I think Zonovan Knight could be that in terms of a kick returner. Even though P. Ryan has impressed, and to me, again, I don't think he's a bad player coming out of Florida. It's just never kind of formulated with the Jets, so it's unfortunate that he most likely gets cut. But I see it as Zonovan Knight as a 4.
Yeah, I know this Coleman thing, man. They clearly love him, and like you said, he's a vet and all that jazz. But I hate losing young guys for guys, for older guys that are just kind of here because they're the vet, and I don't know. I hate it. I always have. I always will. But that said, Frankie, where are you? Are you think we're talking about Michael Carter, we're talking about Breece Hall, and Coleman, and Joe has Zonovan Bam Knight.
Yeah, I don't mind it because Knight brings, the special teams. My question for Joe would be, do you think Ty Johnson has any trade value? Running back is a devalued position. He looks okay when he's out there. He's not a bum. Can we get anything for him? 7th round pick?
I think like the fallback is, again, if Joe Douglas can get a 6 for Cashman, he can get a 7th for P. Ryan. Like that just is what it is. So I wouldn't doubt him, but at the same point, like, if we weren't Jets fans, would any of us know who Ty Johnson was on another roster? Probably not. So could it happen? Yeah, sure. But I realistically probably doubt they get anything for him just because he looks decent when he's out there, when he's not asked to catch or block.
That's right. As long as he's not catching or blocking.
Running is good. Mm-hmm. When there's a big hole and all he has to do is go right through it, he's quite excellent.
Oh, he's really good in the joint practices too. That's clearly of high value. So, all right, we're on the same page. So, as far as do you think we're going to end up doing that hybrid, like utilizing a Wesco for tight end? You think that's really what we're going to end up doing to kind of take some heat off of having to, stock both positions, that we can have one as a crossover? You see that? Other than that, what are you going with? Conklin, Uzoma, and Ruckert?
Yeah, those 3, and then Wesco as the 4 again, just because I think Wesco as the 4th kind of saves you 2 roster spots instead of again carrying, let's say, Yeboah as 4. Yeboah is not going to be a primary blocker there, so then you're going to want Baldwin backs. Now you're carrying 4 tight ends, 5 running backs instead of 4 and 4. So I think to save that extra roster spot, they do end up carrying Wesco, even though it's not. I don't love Wesco. Again, maybe he is something with his team. Maybe he can catch some slide routes too and runs for some yak because he wasn't bad with that West Virginia. But
I know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think it's 4. I think Wesco is the 4th, unfortunately. But maybe again he could be one of those guys to rise from the ashes a little bit with the Jets.
Yeah, there you go. And this is, what, Joe, I have to admit, like when it's guys like P. Ryan, like Wesco, like Mims, this is where I honestly question. Like I don't have the confidence in the Jets coaching staff yet to assume they're making the right decision. I'm not saying they're definitely making the wrong decision, but I don't have the confidence in them yet. Like, they're choosing this guy over that guy. Clearly it's the right position. Right decision. I'm not there yet. I'm still like, because some of these guys I happen to think are pretty damn good, especially on the bottom end of the roster. So wide receiver, this is interesting. Now we're loaded up at running back and tight end, man. Like, so we got 5 running backs with Borden, 5 running backs. How's that going to affect your wide receiver group?
If it was Wesco, it would be 4 and 4. So yeah, it'd be 4 and 4. And then with receivers, I think they carry 5. I just can't see the reason for keeping a Tyreek Black or one of these guys over a Vinny Curry. Like, to me, it's not just, okay, you against your position group, it's you against the other positions as well. So to me, like, Jeff Smith has done nothing with his opportunities, so I don't get, again, the infatuation with him. Guys like Tyreek Black and even Calvin Jackson this preseason has been impressing me with his route running and things like that. So I think it's the top 4, which is the obvious of the Barrios, Davis, Wilson, Elijah Moore. Unfortunately, Mims is most likely going to be traded. He's not going to be on the team, so we're not going to count him, even though I would love to have him as the receiver 5. And then for whatever reason, again, the Jets are infatuated with Jeff Smith, so it'll probably be him. If it were me, I'd probably give it a shot to Calvin Jackson. But I think it'll be Jeff Smith as the fifth, and they don't carry a sixth or seventh.
Frankie, I'm really surprised to hear that Joe Blewett didn't say Irv Charles. He looks fantastic so far. What do you think? No Irv Charles.
He's got to be leapfrogging Mimsy. I mean, obviously, Irvin Charles has got a lot of potential. We can't have Denzel Mims. We got to have Irvin Charles and Calvin Jackson and Tariq Black, who was on the street last year. Nobody knew who he was, but Mims, we can't figure out how to use him.
We love him. All right, so offensive line. Here's where it's going to get interesting, or maybe not, because it's good. Like, I want to know who you're thinking. We know the five, right? We know the five. Who you keeping? Is Edoga long for the team? Is he gone, Joe? I mean, what do we got here?
So you have the starting five, which everybody knows. Obviously, everybody in here, bunch of psychopath Jets fans, we all are to be doing this. So people know the starting offensive line, so I don't have to go over that. The backups, obviously, you have Herbig, you have Feeney, you have Max Mitchell, and then my fourth is a cut. It's a cut from some other team that's going to be the fourth string tackle. Right now, I guess it would be McDermott, but to me, I think McDermott's one of the worst tackles I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, at least, like, Edoga is to me better than McDermott, but they're both absolute trash. I'm just being honest. So I think it's whoever gets cut from another team who is an option out there, and maybe even a guy like Brandon Shell or somebody who's out there for $2-3 million is better than McDermott. A lot of people are like, oh my God, Brandon Shell. Brandon Shell is a lot better than McDermott. There's a difference.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Thank you. Everybody chops my head off. It's like, dude, we're talking about a depth piece. Really, Connor McDermott, Chuma Edoga over Brandon Shell? Come on.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference, and people don't always realize it. There's a big difference between a bad starter and a bad backup. Brandon Shell might be a bad starter, but he's a good backup. So I would welcome him over a guy like a Edoga or a McDermott. So I think that the fourth tackle, whoever it's going to be, is going to be a guy who's on the team. But overall, that would be 9 offensive linemen.
9. Frankie, what do you think? You think Joe's on to something here?
Yeah, that was the big question I had. McDermott's sitting there, Edoga, Pierschbacher, Hermans, Glazer, Sanat, Becton. I mean, these are, that's Herbig. The list. Herbig and Feeney. I mean, Herbig and Feeney and Mitchell are locks. I think. Yeah,
I think so too.
So it really comes down to McDermott. And I was wondering if we would sign a Jason Peters or an Eric Fisher or a Brandon Shell. Now, those guys are sitting out there waiting for something to happen, like just happened to Tyron Smith over at Dallas, because they're going to have to probably sign one of those guys to start and get big money. So I don't know if those guys are probably not going to want to come in for $2 million right now. They're probably going to wait for an injury to try to get a better opportunity. But at the end of the day, before the season starts, I would love to bring in any one of those guys to get an upgrade over McDermott. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, again, it's not like I want Brandon Shell to start, but do I think he's better than McDermott? I do. It's not saying a lot about Brandon Shell. It's more saying something about McDermott, but he's better than him. So I'll be willing at least to see him over a guy like McDermott.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, look, if we do end up trading old Mimsy, I would hope it can be for some scrapping, former starting offensive lineman that you feel real good as a depth piece. Somebody like that, just like you said, like Brandon Shell. I've been saying his name for a few minutes now, and I think it would be great. I know Jets fans, there's a little bit of trauma with Brandon Shell. I do understand. I was there too, but as far as when comparing him to the Edogas of the world, I think would be an upgrade. So let's slide on over to the defense now. Which you said we're keeping 35 defensive linemen? Did you say? I think
35. I have 11. I don't know who that fourth D tackle is, whether it be Marshall Shepard or Kenzel Smart. To me, I would hope for Kenzel Smart. They're not going to do it. So I would think it would be Shepard. Again, the king of strain. I don't understand it, but I think they carry 11 in total. I could see it being 10 with a Vinny Curry cut. I can't see a guy like Bryce Huff being cut. I could see any one of the fourth or fifth D tackles being cut, but I think you're locked into the top 5 defensive ends, but I think they're going to carry 6 at the end of the day because Curry is still an effective player when he was out there for the Eagles. And again, you're talking about having a lot of young players, but you also need those old grizzled vets in there to lead the group as well. And it's not like he's just a placeholder. Like he can also play effectively as well. So at the end of the day, I do think they carry 11 that we mentioned before.
Now, just the very bottom end. So we got Zuniga, we got Anai, we got you mentioned Bryce Huff. He's going to stay most likely. Who's the extra guy that we're keeping? Like, who do you see? Who's the guy that maybe unexpectedly is making the roster? Who maybe I didn't catch it on the bottom end for you?
Yeah. So at the end, we'd have what? We'd have Lawson, Martin, Curry, Clemens, JJ. Right? Am I forgetting?
Right.
Did I say Martin already?
That's 5.
I said Martin. Did I say Clemens?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm the same
Clemens. Way. So hold on. So
as soon as I get to 3, I forget about 1.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have Lawson, JJ, Clemens, Curry, Huff, Jacob Martin. Those are the 6 right there. Zuniga, he had a really good game 1, and then game 2 he kind of disappeared. And unfortunately for him, it's just been an up and down career because of injuries. So I don't think he ends up making the roster, but those are the 6 I see. And then obviously at D tackle we have JFM, Q, Rankins, Solomon Thomas, and Nathan Shepard. I could see Nathan Shepard being cut. I think maybe a surprise cut of the offseason could be a Rankins to recoup some I think $2-3 million, whatever it would be for him.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't been impressing at all when he's in there. So I could see that happening, but if I had to bet my house on, he's still on the team.
It's a great point, Frankie. I think that's a sneaky little happening that might take place. Rankins, because look, you have the Jonathan Marshalls and the Denzel Smarts, guys that are young and kind of showing something. And then you have Rankins, who, I don't know, it almost feels like he's just thinking, I got my roster spot. Maybe I'm wrong, and that's just something I'm making up, but it feels like that. He's done very, very little. Even last year, he was disappointing. So maybe that, hey, I'd like to see one of the, Jonathan Marshall, Denzel Smarts having a great preseason. So I'd like to see some of those guys actually put in the work, look good, and actually make it. I'm still pissed about Atari Bigby, Joe. Years ago, Atari Bigby, he had a great preseason. He had 2 or 3 interceptions in the final game, and we cut him. And then I think for some complete scrub. And then he went up to a Green Bay and had himself an 11-year career or whatever it was. You know how that goes.
I feel like that's my Danny Woodhead.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly it. So now if we're loading up in certain positions, we're going to have to take from somewhere. So linebacker, maybe we're going to thin that out because we are going to utilize less. What do you see for your linebackers?
Yeah, that's another one of those positions. Like I think at the end of the day, like the final 53 when Wilson's healthy, quarterback's one of those positions you only carry 2. Receiver's one of those positions you only carry 5. Linebacker, to me, again, I'm not keeping a 6th because I don't see as one of those guys being more valuable than Vinny Curry. So I think it's obviously you have Mosley, you have Quan, you have Quincy Williams, you have Sherwood, who I think is a lock to make the team. They seem to like him a lot. 5th. I would personally prefer it to be Hamza because I think Hamza has a lot of physical upside. Unfortunately, when he's been in the games, he hasn't made much of an impact. And for whatever reason, they like Delshon Phillips a lot, and they seem to rave about him for special teams.
They love him. I don't know.
I think it's going to be Delshon Phillips as 5, and that's all they carry. Even though I would hope it would be Hamza, but I don't feel that way right now.
I like that too. I mean, Hamza Nasruddin has, look, he's changing positions last year, so there's that, and he did have some injuries, but by now he should have been able to make at least some impact, and it's been elusive for the poor fella. He hasn't done much. So now cornerbacks, or you want to do defensive backs, so you could stay cornerbacks. Who do you see on the bottom end? Is it Guidry because he's the only backup nickel? Like, what are you going with these cornerback guys?
Yeah, so corners, we have the top 3 of Michael Carter II. We have Sauce, you have DJ Reed, and then you have Hall, who's going to be the primary backup. You have obviously Eccles, who, again, not a good starter, but a very good backup. Again, there's a difference, people.
Right.
I harp on that a lot. Big difference between bad starter and good backup, or bad starter, bad backup. Shell, good backup, bad starter. Let's just, again, right. I saw a couple comments, but nonetheless. So it's those 5. And then 6 to me is like another really interesting battle where you have good battles at D end, D tackle. You have the one with Baldwin and Westco, and then 6th corner to me is another really interesting one because how much sway does Boyer have in terms of keeping a Hardy? Because Hardy coming from the Saints, I was pretty high on Hardy, and he didn't do much with the Jets last year. Penalties, missed tackles. He also missed a tackle in the last preseason game that we just played. He missed another tackle. So you're paid to make tackles. You're not making tackles. So I would prefer to keep Guidry because I think he's a good backup slot who's young, who could build with. But I think the Jets staff might keep Hardy. I don't really know. I'm like 50-50 on that one. Gun to my head, I would say they keep Hardy. Me personally, I would keep Guidry as the 6 because you could develop him. He could a backup slot's important.
if you that's the question I have for you, Joe. If you did that, who is the backup slot? Eccles? Brandon Eccles can't be the backup slot, can he?
Yeah, that's the only thing I would think of, Frankie, was, okay, are they cross-training Eccles to play some backup slot? But just because you're small and you can move doesn't mean you could be a slot. You know, like look at DJ Reed. He's getting played as an outside guy. Perfect example. He can't necessarily play slot, or he's not ideally put there. So that's my reasoning. Guidry's the backup slot. He's tough. He's a good tackler. Or at least he's shown that in the last couple of years. Tackling Derrick Henry, had a big tackle in the preseason game, 2 on the edge. I forget exactly who it was. So to me, he's a good player, good backup slot. Again, a hit for a UDFA for Joe Douglas. It's just how much sway does Boyer have in special teams, and how much do they realize that, hey, Hardy might not necessarily be what we paid for so far. So me personally, it's Guidry for the Jets. I think it's Hardy for whatever reason.
And then we lose both of the big signings from the New Orleans Saints, the Rankins and the Hardys. We thought they were going to have such a positive, impact, and they're gone a year later. Who knows? Well, I'm with you, man. Hardy does not look good in his defensive back role either. I mean, he can't even come in as a emergency guy. I mean, he looks terrible out there at times. So yeah, I'm with you, man. How much sway does Boyer really have? So safety. We'll finish this up with safety. Are we going to bring in somebody else, or is this our lot, and is this who we're going to war with, Joe?
Yeah, and it's the same thing for linebacker too. Like, I'm linebacker 5. I hope it's not on the team right now. I'm not a big Delshon Phillips guy. It just seems that they talk about him a lot, and he's a good special teamer. But I'm still hoping for a linebacker 5. I'm hoping for a safety 4 as well. I think that Pinnock is probably a lock as the backup right now, and then obviously you have Joyner and Whitehead. Past that, I probably think it's Philly Will. I think it's Will Parks.
No Ashton Davis?
Ashton Davis has been brutally bad. Brutally bad.
What's up with that guy?
So
he's done.
Yeah. I'm with you.
He's been bad, missed tackles, bad coverage, or bad play coverages, not being necessarily healthy all the time. So to me, he's off the team, and it's Will Parks. But at the end of the day, I like Will Parks. I like what he's on social media. He seems like a leader. He seems like a good dude. At the end of the day, do I want him playing free safety for the Jets in a pinch? I don't. So I'd prefer a cut candidate to fill that spot, because I don't. Again, not trying to be like a jerk here, but I don't even think Philly Will is a jag. I think they could do better with just a jag. I don't think he's necessarily a guy you want playing on your team. Like, listen, a lot of these guys, we don't have hope for them, but like when we're their 5th or 6th team on the lineup, maybe there's a reason the other teams cut him as well. And Philly Will has been released a couple of times. I like him. I just don't prefer him on the team.
You heard it here first, everybody. Joe Blewett's favorite safety is Will Parks. He wants him to make. He's a lock to make the roster. Yeah. So there you have it. I mean, look, I think I agree with most of that. Ashton Davis, another one. I think it's like, I don't know, man. It's, in my opinion, unless there's injuries and there's nothing else, nowhere else to go, I think it's time. Like, let's move on. This is year 3, and you have not improved a lick. And like you said, the other thing is health. So there it is. There's our 53. Joe, I'm going to get one super chat with you from Dom C. It's a good question, and then I'll let you get out of here. And I appreciate your time, man. It's really been cool. I love chatting with you, Joe. I could do it for hours. Like, truly, I just love bending your ear, bro. So he says, hey, the Jets can get out from under Lawson, JFM, Mosley, relatively cheap next year. Does another underperforming year by the D put these high-priced guys on the hot seat? JFM, Mosley, guys that were just kind of, we don't even talk about them clearly because the money's not going to work if you let them go. But what do you think about what Dom's saying? Underperforming year from the D. Are guys like Mosley and JFM and Lawson maybe gone?
Yeah, Mosley, to me, I feel like he's going to renegotiate to like a $12, $13 million a year type of deal. You can't keep him for $17 million a year. There's no way. So I think it is a renegotiation. To me, Mosley seems like he likes to be here. Again, I don't see 95% of the stuff out there. So does he really? Will he bounce on the team? I'm not too sure, but just based on my feeling, I think he renegotiates. JFM and Lawson, listen, JFM is getting like $14, $15 million a year. He has to produce. Like, I get, the pressures and this and that. Like, at the end of the day, you got to get some sacks, you got to get some hits. So, and his alignment last year was not conducive to that, right? Like, he got paid to be the pass rusher at defensive tackle. He was playing too much defensive end last year, so he wasn't put in the best position because of some injuries. So I think he will have a bounce back year. And then Lawson, like Dom C said, like, he has pretty much, I think, no money guaranteed next year. Like, you can just get out from it cleanly. And we love Lawson. We love the idea of Lawson, but unfortunately, Lawson's body doesn't love himself. Like, he has multiple ACLs or Achilles, whatever it is, 2 on one leg, 1 on the other. So if he can't stay healthy, you can't pay the guy $14, $15, $16 million a year, go into free agency and find another guy, which is unfortunate because I don't care what his numbers say. Lawson is a very, very good player. He's a very good player with the Bengals. Again, unfortunately, he's just sometimes people's bodies just don't agree. So I'm hoping he can put a healthy year out there for the Jets, and he's here next year. We don't have to worry about it because then you're looking at Lawson being gone, replacing him and Mosley and JFM and a right tackle and a center and a left tackle and a safety and a linebacker. I just can't do it anymore. So I'm hoping these guys step up.
I want to see players here for more than 2 years, Joe. That's what you want. But it's the truth. I mean, look, last year was obviously injury. It is what it is. But if Lawson comes in and he's healthy and he doesn't have that impact that they're hoping, why pay him $15 million a year? Any of these guys, it just sucks. You want to see guys stay here for maybe 5, 6, 10 years. Could you imagine? I don't think the last guy we had for that long was like Brian Thomas or something. It's like 4 years is a lifetime as a Jets player. So anyway, but Joe, thank you for coming on, man. Again, I appreciate it. You have anything coming up that you want to let anybody know about?
I was really late on the film reviews this year, so there's 1,000 reviews coming out, anywhere from Laken Tomlinson to Jacob Martin to Solomon Thomas to Herbig. Whoever you're going to want to see is going to be out there. The game review of the last game was just released. I know people get a little bit mad. It's only 12 minutes free on YouTube, and then the rest of the 2 hours are paid for, but it is what it is. Right. So just go follow JoeRB31 on Twitter, Blewett Splits, Jets X Factor, all that stuff, and you'll get too much film reviews. People complain about the amount of film reviews, so it's too much. So if you want too many film reviews, come get it.
Well, you're never accused of not saying enough. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right.
And too fast. I get accused all the time of snorting cocaine, but I don't. I promise. My brain works too fast. So
yeah, right. See that? Everybody jumping to conclusions, Joe. Mm-hmm. You're just amped up. You're just amped. Well, there he is, everybody. Joe Blewett of Jet X Factor. Again, you can find him all over the place. I follow him on Twitter, and he's a great follow. And I love his breakdowns. Again, I appreciate his time with us. He's a fun guy to have around, Frankie. I really like what he has to say, and you can trust that. Look, you might not agree all the time, and that's fine. We don't have to agree with everybody all the time. But the one thing you can say is that he's doing his homework. You know what I mean? Yeah. He creates his own
there's
opinion.
very few people who do 2 and 3 hour film breakdowns like Joe Blewett. I mean, there's very few people. And so people understand, to get a 2 or 3 hour film breakdown, you have to watch hundreds and hundreds of plays to get the 50 you're going to show on film. So it's a lot of work, and it's very detailed. I mean, say what you want. You may not agree with his opinions, but it's extremely detailed breakdowns of techniques and everything else. So I highly endorse Joe Blewett's work.
Yeah. Yeah, as do I. And look, man, I'm a paid guy with JetX, and I wish I could spend more time there. Truth be told, I don't get as much time as I used to. I'm now a stay-at-home dad. I'm a homeschool guy. I'm teaching classes for homeschool co-ops, and so I don't have as much time as maybe I used to, but I'll tell you what, I consolidate and I don't read as much bullshit fluff as I used to anymore. So when I do absorb stuff, it's good stuff. And like Nanya and Blewett and Sabo, I mean, Sabo was my favorite, or at least one of my favorite kind of beat guys, for lack of a better term, for years when he had Elite Sports, and all that jazz. So they're a good group, man. If you guys haven't followed them or you're thinking about it, it's worth it. You're going to like it if you like Jets content and you like real stuff, not somebody trying to make you mad or sad or upset and all that jazz. So yeah, let's say, look, there has been, it's a funny thing. A couple weeks ago, Frankie, I was on the Talking Jets panel with Ryan and Matt O'Leary, and for 2 straight hours, we talked about one thing, and that was Mekhi Becton's injury. We tried to introduce other topics. It got swallowed up by Becton. Then I did the After Hours Jets Fest, and I even said, we're not talking about Becton. That lasted about 21 minutes, and then it was another hour and a half of Becton. So I see that happening in the chat tonight with Denzel Mims, and I can understand. Here's what I'm going to say, and then we'll talk about Edward Ziff's game he's going to. And there's a few other super chats, and we got some really great comments. And Y2K and Jeremy were helping us to see some. The 53 was one of the comments, and a couple of things we talked about were from you guys. So thank you. But here's the thing I'm going to say for all you guys who weren't here when we talked about it at the opening of the show. There's a whole bunch more of you in here. So what I'm going to say is this. Number one, an agent requesting a trade does not guarantee that a trade's going to happen. So if the Jets do not see the right offer, and, because Denzel Mims does have value. Now, clearly this staff does not value him as much as maybe the previous staff or even, people like us, right? Like Frankie, myself, and some others. We value Denzel Mims. Now, this Jet staff might not value him to that degree, but if they're not going to take a 6th round pick, if it's just not worth it, then they're going to keep him as wide receiver 5 or whatever that is, and they'll see how it goes in the season. If there's an injury or whatever, and if somebody has an injury on another team and then becomes desperate for a wide receiver, maybe they up their offer or something like that. I don't think that Joe Douglas feels that pressure just because there was an official statement from an agent. So that's number one. Number two, I don't think that Jets fans, by and large, think very highly of Denzel Mims, which is an interesting thing to me. We call him a penalty machine and all that. Again, he had 279 plays last year on offense, 5 penalties. Now, that's not what you don't want to see that, but it's not like he's egregious. It's not as bad as the pendulum isn't all the way on that side, maybe as extreme as we think it is, because the penalties that we see, we highlighted them. It was like, he only gets in for 6 plays and 2 of them are penalties and they yank him. So it's hard not to see. Now, if this staff isn't going to use him, though, I think they should trade him, though, Frank. I like Denzel Mims. He's one of the players I really was high on in that draft, and I still think very highly of him as a young kid. But if they're not going to use him, if they can't figure it out, Frankie, they just can't. I think that we should trade him, get something for him, maybe a player, maybe that swing tackle, maybe Chicago. They could use another wide receiver. I think N'Keal Harry even already got hurt up there. I'm not sure of the severity. They traded with the Patriots, but a team like the Bears, maybe they could use him, and we could take something that they're trying to get rid of, and maybe an offensive line, maybe that little linebacker who's looking to get out of there. He's expensive. But I think that if you're not going to use somebody, there's no reason to keep him. Let him go have a damn career and get something. So, Frankie, realistically, you think the Jets end up trading him? And if so, how much we get?
Well, they probably will. And I think we could probably package him up. I mean, we have all these people that we don't want to cut. We think are so great. We have defensive linemen. We have extra running backs. We got draft picks. And it occurs to me that the Bears also have, in addition to Roquan Smith, they also have a good free safety named Eddie Jackson, I believe. Don't they have Eddie Jackson? And he's, the Bears are interesting because they're not doing anything this year. And so why don't they, why wouldn't they be interested in young players, picks, some package of items that they might be interested in, a guy with potential like Denzel, that they might want to develop him, and maybe he becomes a wide receiver 1 at some point. But they're not going to need Eddie Jackson. They're not going to need, although he just got I don't know. He just got an extension, I think. Yeah, but Eddie Jackson's a free safety that we need. We need a free safety. We need somebody like that. Why can't we package something up, things we're not going to use anyway, and improve a place where we need to improve?
Yeah. Well, and I think that would be the preferred route for me. Like, okay, if you're not going to use him now, if Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh did, this is all bullshit. We're going to use him. We're going to be a wide receiver 5. It's whatever. Let's say there's just information we don't have and we're all off base. Assuming that's not the case, and they really just don't like the guy. They don't, and not personally. I mean, just as the wide receiver for the team, they just don't want him. They're not going to use him. As ridiculous as I find that, it doesn't change the fact that if they think it, they think it, right? I'd rather see them take Denzel Mims and go and get a backup tackle, go and get a safety that could, at bare minimum, be a good depth piece, maybe even come in and battle for the starting job. I'd love to see something like that. as opposed to just getting a fifth or something like that. That said, I think you can get a third for Denzel Mims. That's what I think. But who knows?
I mean, I don't love that. I don't love that kind of trade because we don't need a third. What we need is somebody to protect the field. We need somebody to tackle somebody, to cover somebody. It's like you said earlier. I'm kind of sick of compiling picks. Let's put something together that makes sense for. I mean, the Bears are totally rebuilding. What do they need Eddie Jackson for? What do they need Roquan Smith for? By the time they're good, those guys are going to be well gone. They might as well get some picks, young players. They can some things. I like that idea better. That way, let's get something useful for our team right now.
Yeah, well, and I agree with that. I think that would be my preferred route. Rather than, and I love myself some draft picks. I'm accused all the time. I would continually trade my players for, which is not accurate, by the way, but I get accused of it all the time. If I could always trade my players for more firsts and just keep using the draft as my fun, I don't know. There's logic there, though. I've fucking been miserable as a Jets fan this past decade, man. That's the truth.
It's time for some winning. We got to start winning at some point,
It really is. And that's the thing, Frankie. When you look at the way that Joe Douglas handled this offseason, it had a completely different feel than the first couple years he was here. He clearly compiled assets, whether it be cap, cleaning off the dead cap and all that jazz. He had a nice chunk of cash to spend, and he had all those draft picks. He used them to move up and get quality over quantity this time, and it looks like a man who thinks it's time to compete. It's time to compete. So I'm a firm believer that is what we're trying to do. I'm not going to buy this year that they're just, doing what they did last year, getting guys playing time, evaluating. No. They want to and need to compete this year. So Edward Ziff checking in. He says, I'm going to the Jets-Pats October 30th coming from North Carolina. Anyone else going? Black uniforms, DeBrick to the Ring of Honor. That's going to be a fun game as long as we can actually play football in it. Hopefully you don't go see a 45-3 drubbing, Mr. Ziff. That would be painful. Like opening day last year, we all went into the stadium. We were having such a good time, Ed. 4 interceptions from Zach Wilson. So hopefully that's not the case. Frankie, we're going to play well against the Pats this year. What do you think? Are we going to split, maybe even sweep them? What do we got?
Boy, I just don't know. The Pats are one of these crazy teams. I've watched them in the preseason. I think they lost Tyquan Thornton to injury. He's out. Cole Strange actually looks like he's going to be pretty good. Their defense seems like it's going to be good as always. I don't know. It's hard for me to know what the heck we are at this point. Are we going to be able to run the ball? I don't know. Our offensive line is all over the place so far in the preseason. We haven't been able to run the ball at all. Nope. We're going to be able to throw the ball. I don't know. I haven't seen Flacco do anything. I haven't seen Zacho do anything. All I've seen is Mike Blanco, La Flama Blanca, and I've seen him overthrow everybody. And then Streveler, the scrambler, running around. Chris Scrambler, scrambling like a maniac. So what the heck are we? Exactly. I mean, I don't even know what in the heck we are yet. And then we say, well, cover 3, and they're binking, bink, 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 cover against our cover 3. And then people say, well, we're not going to be in cover 3. We're going to do something else. So I don't know what this defense is. I am very confused at this point as to what the heck we are.
Frankie, you're really hitting on a real point there. I don't know either. We could look at our personnel and we can say, okay, this is clearly what we hope to be. An example, we got the Mike LaFleur, the whole system that loves tight ends and fullbacks. And what do we have? We got tight ends and fullbacks. We have shiftier wide receivers that LaFleur likes. So you can see what we're trying to do. Running game, Breece Hall, Michael Carter, all. But it's really still hard to put a finger on it because guess what? Our quarterback is hurt. And now we're going back with Joe Flacco, and we don't know what Mike F. and White is. We don't know how long Zach's out. There's so many question marks around this team that it's difficult. It really, and the defense, holy macaroni. And look, like Thomas Cahill is saying here, Frankie, there are many decisions by this staff that are not understandable. And this is what I'm saying. Like, guys, I want to make sure that I'm clear here because we like to look at and take one little nugget and make that the whole thing. I'm going to be very, very clear. I am not saying that I do not trust this staff. I am not saying that I don't think they can work. I'm not saying that in the slightest. What I am saying is that there have been a series of decisions that I have disagreed with. I have felt kind of like, what is that? And then to back that up, though, that I have these feelings when we're on the field, we don't look good. Now, when we came, you know what I'm saying? So
that's a key point.
That's the key point. And this has been the problem all throughout my Jets fandom. You know, like I've shared with you guys, I'm on Jetnation. I'm on the Greenhouse. I've been talking about the Jets incessantly online, like with thousands of other maniacs since the 90s, dude. Okay. Like we had to go, I was on Yahoo chat. Like that's how fucking long I've been doing this, Frankie. So, and the thing is, in large part, Jets fans have had more of an inclination on what to do that would have been the right moves than the Jets have over the course of our time. Now, I happen to like Joe Douglas, like Joe said, really well. You know, the process. You can see that Joe Douglas knows what he's doing. Now, if the picks don't hit and all that, of course, there's all that stuff. But as far as how to do it, he looks like a guy that knows how to do it. And I've agreed with a lot of the methodology behind what he's done. Okay. But when you look at the coaches, the coaching staff, and a real good one is the one that we're talking about today with Denzel Mims. It's like, I don't see how a coaching staff couldn't use him. You know what I mean? And use the living hell out of him. Like that's the way I would see it. Now there's been some inconsistencies and all that. But you could really boil that back down to, you know, why is he learning 3 positions and all this stuff? That's just, there's just a lot here that makes you scratch your head. And there are other decisions that they've made. And we were talking earlier, and you can go into this, you know, with the, you know, starting George Fant over Morgan Moses at right tackle last year. And then we had to obviously change that when Becton went down. But there's just a lot of decisions that make me nervous. They haven't given me that confidence. That's all I'm really saying. I don't have the confidence that the decisions that they're making are going to be the right decisions. I'm still concerned.
And it would be one thing if they said, okay, listen, this Jeff Smith fella, he's going to set this house on fire. Don't you worry. Jeff Smith is going to be dynamite. And then we watch and we see, and Jeff Smith goes in there and he's doing a fantastic job. And we say, oh, wow, this guy's amazing. End arounds, catching the ball, touchdowns, you name it. Okay, Denzel Mims, sorry, there's no room for you here. But that's not what happened. What happened is Jeff Smith went in and dropped every pass, almost dropped passes, and his special teams grade. Then they said, oh, he's a gunner on special teams. Okay. Then you look at his special teams grade on PFF, and he's getting terrible grades on PFF. So what is the fascination with Jeff Smith? If he's not any good, let's go with a guy who has actual potential in Denzel Mims. And that's all we're really saying. Like some of the beat reporters were going on and on about, well, Denzel Mims is never going to play over Corey and Elijah and Garrett and Braxton. And that's a straw man argument. Nobody said he should be. Nobody said he should be right now. They said what we have been upset about is that he can't get in there over Jeff Smith, who has done also nothing. Right. So that's the problem. It's like if these decisions worked out and we saw the results, we would say, fine, okay, trust Saleh, he's got it. You know, if every other, you know, the other thing is, why is he waking up on the day of the preseason game and deciding all of a sudden C.J. Mosley and Carl Lawson aren't playing? He just has an epiphany overnight. Well, shouldn't there be a plan for this? Like you just decide that morning? That seems, I don't know, indecisive. And then we had the Morgan Moses situation and the right cornerback situation last year and all of the timeout situations during the game and the Denzel Mims situation. And now we have the Sauce Gardner-Bryce Hall situation where he can't decide. So this is a pattern of indecisiveness. And that's what has me worried. And then when we do make a choice like Jeff Smith, it doesn't seem to work out too good.
Yeah. And Jeff Smith is a really good example. It's like, just like you said, I want to make sure that everybody knows this. In the event I like guy A and the Jets choose guy B, if guy B goes out there and he plays lights out, I'm in.
Yeah, me too. I love Jeff Smith. And Jeff Smith's a wonderful guy. We love him. He tries
Love him.
hard. He practices well. He has a lovely family. It's fine. We love him. But he's not like he's producing. That's the problem. I want him to go out and do well. Even though I like Mims, I want Smith to do well. I want Tariq Black to do well. I want Irvin Charles. Anybody who plays for the Jets, I want them to do well.
Yeah, and that's right, and that's always been the case. Like you run into all the time, and Jeremy had a good little spot on one of his videos this week where he was talking about whether or not Jets fans are actually fans if you're rooting for someone that you didn't want on the team to fail. You know what I mean? And I second that. Like when you are, look, you wanted Justin Fields, you wanted Mac Jones instead of Zach Wilson. Okay, Zach Wilson's our quarterback. We want him to do well as fans. You don't want secretly for Zach to fail so you can creep out of the muck and say,
I was right.
Yeah.
I was right.
You know how hard it's going to be for a guy like me? Again, Denzel Mims was one of the 5 receivers I did the most work on in the 2020 draft. My favorite receiver was actually Laviska Shenault, but the injury things had me spooked or whatever. But I did deep dives on these guys. And I like him. And I think he has a lot of talent. If Denzel Mims gets traded for the first little bit, I'm going to go, okay, good. The moment that he's doing shit, I'm going to hate his guts. Like, I know me, I know how it goes. Even if I can't feel it right now for him, if he goes over to wherever, the Chiefs, and then he's got 1,000 yards, like the Robbie Anderson thing, if that happens, I'm going to despise Denzel Mims. But underneath it all, what really bothers me about it is I always want the Jets moves to be the right moves. I want everything our general manager does to end up being the right move. Like when you look at Jamal Adams, you look at Sam Darnold trades, Chris Herndon, they are without question, at least up to this point, the correct moves. And I like that. I like having an organization that actually knows what they're doing, that makes the smart move, sees the writing on the wall, and gets value out of a situation before it ends up being completely devoid of value. I like that. So when you have a guy that our staff refuses to use and you send him away and he has a good year, nothing bothers me more than that. I can't stand it, man. And you'll hear all this stuff. Well, of course we're rooting for Denzel Mims. He's a good guy and blah, blah, blah. And that's fucking horse shit. It's like, if you have a guy, he's a good football player, keep him. That's the way I see it. So Jets New York 102, he says, have more faith in the jersey. Sure, boy. Vinny Curry. What do you think? What do you mean have more faith, Jets in 102?
He hasn't gotten on the field. Can we see him? I'd like to see number 99. I like Vinny Curry. Let's see him play. I have a sneaking feeling he's going to start on the pup, though. That's one way we might sneak him onto the roster because he's been, he might have to start out on the pup.
Oh, yeah. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, he's been injured. He's had hamstrings, and then I think today or the other day he had another injury, so he just hasn't been healthy.
And that's the spooky part, guys. Like when you look at guys like a Vinny Curry, like a Jabari Zuniga, like a Lawrence Cager, like these guys that might be playing well, might be looking good. Injury is the most concerning thing, hands down, point blank, period. It's the number one thing. The Jets have been unable to get over that injury hurdle in 4 years. I mean, it goes longer than that, but the last 4 years, I believe we are the number one team in cap money on IR. And just people and just players on IR. It's like we are number one. And that shit has to stop. So when you're talking about trying to change such a vital aspect of team building, and you're picking a guy, like you have 2 guys, and the guy you pick is known for being unable to make it through a season, I question the wisdom in that. And that's all, that I question the wisdom in that. So Vinny Curry, I don't know.
It could be worse. We could have the Giants situation where their entire draft class is now injured, except for like one guy.
Well, we had that already, so maybe we're coming out of the dark tunnel, Frankie. Shit. There was one point where the only guy playing out of the 2020 draft class was Braden Mann. That's it.
I mean, but actually, one of the things that disturbed me that Joe Blewett said, actually, that stuck with me. We don't do heavy practices. We don't have heavy tackling practices. What the hell is that?
We don't have what?
Heavy tackling practices, Joe said. So we do 7-on-7s, which are mostly passing drills. We don't. According to him, we don't do the kind of practices that you could do, that you're allowed to do in the CBA, where we tackle a lot. I think that's a problem.
It is.
You have to practice tackling. This is why we can't tackle anybody.
Frankie, here's the thing. If that is keeping the team healthy, and there's an argument to be made.
And that's the line, right? And that's
there's
the
an
line,
argument,
right?
Right.
Exactly.
There's an argument to be made right now. I mean, I hate to even say it. Good thing is I have wood over here. That's real wood, too. It's not some fake bullshit. This is good wood. Knocking on the good wood. I don't want to jinx anything, but it seems like that might be something they learned, and it might be having a positive impact.
Now, if we're healthy and we have everybody out there, but they can't tackle anyone, does that do us any good?
Well, that's part B to this argument. So everybody's healthy, and then you get in a game and they cannot tackle, or they're getting hurt because it's their first contact.
Yeah, right. And the Patriots put up a 50-burger. And what good is that? And
Oh, Frank. V-Man's checking in. He says, hey, what tailgate will you be at week 1? I'm going to be with the Jet Lounge, V-Man. I was supposed to call Sack today. I just didn't have a chance. I'm going to call him tomorrow and see if more has been ironed out. I haven't had a chance to talk to too many people. I don't know if you guys know, I had a little tiny bit of food poisoning on Tuesday. I ate some Virginia Chinese food. It's not recommended, but every now and then you just do stuff. You just do stuff, Frankie. Every now and then you go and you grab yourself 9 moon pies and you stuff them down your gullet. It happens.
People were asking me if you were all right. I didn't know what they were talking about. I was like, I thought they were talking about your COVID stuff. But it's amazing. People keep up with your health, GreenBean. They want to know, is GreenBean healthy or what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody. I mean, that's very nice. It's touching. I mean it. It's sincere. But yeah, it was right before the panel, on Tuesday night. It was like maybe an hour. I'm like, dudes, I'm not going to make it. And I said, let me take care. Let me puke. Let me do some stuff. And I'll come on maybe an hour into the show. And then I literally, I just laid in bed with a writhing stomach and did the whole thing all night. The next day, I kind of tried to stay in. I was miserable for about 24 hours of misery, maybe a little less. But so now here we are. So I haven't been able to talk to anybody. I have some ends to tie up. So we'll see how that goes. But V-Man, no matter where it is, I'll be with the Jet Lounge. I'll be with Ryan, Matt, Buffalo, Jeremy, all kinds of us. Jets Media, the Talking Jets, Let's Talk Jets Radio guys. Tyson and Primetime are going to be there. Joe Blewett, I'll be with him. I don't know if Joe Blewett's tailgating with us. But we'll definitely be with him at the game in the hangar. And then I always make a stop at Jetnation as well. So I'll be over there for a little while, but primarily I'll be with the Jet Lounge guys. I hope you can make it if you're coming, man. It'll be great. I can't wait. I know there's a whole bunch of you guys that I'm definitely going to see that day, and I couldn't be more excited. I'm glad I'm going to meet Iowa. I'm going to meet Harry. There's so many of you guys. And I got big news, Frankie. Chris Bradigan, he's in the chat. Chris Bradigan is the 3rd person now that the Jets Fan Fund was able to get to opening day. We got Iowa there. We got Jonathan from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And now we got Chris Bradigan into the show. These are their first ever Jets home games, Frankie. So this is fun. Isn't it amazing? And now we have some donations of tickets. And so we have tickets for some other guys. Like there's one guy, he just moved to New York. He lived in the South somewhere. He just moved to like upstate New York. We might just be able to give him a ticket and get a 4th in without having to pay for travel. So Iowa's doing a good job of organizing all this stuff. But let me tell you, man, it's been an amazing process. Seeing all you guys donate and getting these people to go, dude, they're so excited. And I'm so happy for you, Chris. Truly, it's going to be amazing to meet you as well, man. I couldn't be more excited about this stuff. It's amazing. We really are getting bombarded.
Everybody. Yeah. Good job, everybody. Keep it
Yeah,
up.
we're getting bombarded with the sex bots today.
Oh, we are.
I gotta, you know what? I always forget to do the damn thing. You know, when you just make it so people can't comment unless they're subscribers. That's very important, Frankie. And I don't do it. Very important. It's one of those things I just don't do. So J.E. Allen checking in. Thank you for the super chat. He says, Mims and Beckham were drafted for Gase. They don't fit with Salah. Look, I think that there's some wisdom to that. I mean, I do. I mean, they were drafted. Even Phil Savage said it, you know, soon as like toward the beginning of the Salah regime, he said, look, we got to meet all new coaches. We have to see what they want. We're drafting for a whole new team now. So there's reality there. That said, J.E., I have to admit, it bothers me. You know what I mean? It bothers me that we have, like, my whole thing with coaches, I want coaches who can literally grab the players they have, like Parcells, right? He would end up getting players he likes, but he could take any fucking team. He could sit down with them and get whatever he needed out of them. If this guy was only good in that spot, then that's where he puts them. And I like coaches that can morph the system to their players' strengths and even cover their weaknesses. If Bill Belichick.
That's a perfect example. Right? That's a perfect example. If he needs to run a 6-1 defense, he runs it. If he needs to run a 2-person line, he does it. He doesn't give a crap about anything. He will do anything, literally with the cheating and everything, to win. Yeah, right. But I mean, if he's going to have a 2-person line, if he's going to have a 6-person line, he doesn't care. He will mold and shape his team to do, to get the most out of it. That's a perfect example.
It really is, man. And look, injuries come and injuries go. Next guy up, he figures it out. And look how many incarnations his offense and defenses have had over the years. They always look different. And we got to give these guys time. We're going into their second year in these positions. So that's real. But I don't like that they can't figure out how to use guys. And then, look, I don't know everything. So there could be a whole bunch of information that we don't have. And that's fair. So fair enough. That all said, I don't like that. I would rather have a coaching staff that no matter who we have on the team, they find out what their strengths are. They figure out how to utilize them. And then they know how to cover up people's weaknesses that they do have. They don't put them in those positions. Like last year, we had Elijah Moore as the lead blocker on screens. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm sure he'll throw his body into Elijah Moore. He's going to give you 100%. But I'm going to bet that that's probably not the best blocker on our team.
And didn't exactly fool anybody. So if you thought you were fooling someone, I'll put Elijah out here. No way they'll think he's going to block anyone. Ha ha ha. It didn't exactly work, LaFleur. So you didn't fool anybody, and you put our kid in danger. So pretty stupid. And why do we have to have Nathan Shepard on the team? It's one thing to not know how to use a talented guy, but then why are you trying to use a non-talented guy? It goes both ways. You have an asset here called Denzel Mims that you can use, and then you have a guy, Nathan Shepard, who's no good and you love to death. What is that exactly?
Yeah. So look, and here's my hope. And you guys, if you saw this week's podcast or listened to it, I came up with a pretty damn serious concoction of reasons for why it is that the Jets' fortunes are right at the beginning of turning around for the better and for long term. I believe it. That said, I'm just hanging out with my friends, voicing a few concerns. That's all. That's all we're doing right now. It's just voicing some concerns. I happen to believe that we have the right general manager. I think that most of the talent that we brought on are exciting, really exciting young guys, both defensively and offensively, more talent than we've collected in the right spots than in recent memory. Now, I think we would have been wise to get maybe another linebacker, but maybe not. Sherwood, he's looked good in preseason. He really has. He's looked good in preseason. And Salah loves him, so maybe he's the guy. Maybe we're about to watch a Pro Bowl season from Jamie Sherwood. Wouldn't that be nice? But then you got safety and stuff like that. Hey, it's a process. But I think that there is a very real possibility that game one we're going to show up with a whole bunch of stuff that nobody's seen yet. And maybe I'm a dreamer. Maybe I'm just wishful thinking, Frankie. I don't know. But I think that it's real. And I also think Joe Klecko and Darrelle Revis are getting in the Hall of Fame this year. I also think that I will be there yelling and screaming at the Hall of Fame with a whole bunch of you maniacs, and that'll be fun. So, but that said, I do think that a lot of the players that we brought in, Gase did have an influence. And let's not forget, Gase was the boss. Gase was the guy who was here first. He was the guy who got Joe Douglas hired, and he was the guy who got Mike McCagnon fired. He was, if there was a power struggle in that room, I would venture to say Gase would have won it. That all said, I'm not taking, I'm taking any responsibility away from Joe Douglas. He made the picks. You know what I mean? So Thomas K. Haley says, I watched Buffalo versus Denver, saw what a real team does, and we don't. I didn't get a chance to watch it. Did you see any other games where teams look good?
Yeah, plenty of them. And that's one of the reasons I have no idea what the hell we are, because I watched all the preseason games this week, believe it or not. I'm that crazy. I watched not all through maybe the first half of all of them. And there's a lot of teams out there that look like $1 million, including some of the ones we played. And so, Buffalo looked amazing. Even the Patriots look better than I thought they would. Some teams just look like they come out and they're well coached and they know what they're doing and they're organized. The Ravens are one of them also, and Buffalo's definitely one of them. Now, Josh Allen was playing, so he's playing against the backups and everything else, and he's Josh Allen, and it's a preseason game, and it's Josh Allen who's an elite quarterback, so of course he's going to look good. But yeah, we don't. And now on the other side of it, we didn't play a lot of our starters in these games, and maybe that has to do with it. So that's why I say I have no idea what the hell we are, but I have seen some other teams come right out and look like they're $1 million.
Right. And Frankie, maybe that's to our benefit. You know what I mean? Again, preseason, guys, we have to keep it in our minds. It's hard because we're watching Jets football, and when it looks abysmal, it feels abysmal. It's hard to keep that logical presence of mind and say, hey, it's preseason and we're not starting. You want to see your team at least look good. Now, in the third and fourth quarter, we've looked pretty good in these preseason games. We are the 2-0 New York Jets currently. So there's all that. But we do have to remember that we're not playing a whole bunch of our starters, and we're, the whole not showing, all that kind of stuff.
I'll tell you something else. Here's something else that got the Giants, the freaking New York Giants. Here's something that impressed the hell out of me. They have all sorts of injuries on their interior offensive line. And I said, aha, there's no way they're going to come out and look good on the offensive line. They've had injuries upon injuries, and Evan Neal's a rookie and all this. Well, they came out. And not only that, before the game, Coach Bobby Johnson said, well, we're cross-training people. That's why we cross-train. And I said, cross-train. Yeah, that's coach speak for you're about to get your butt kicked, right? So I watched the game, and Daniel Jones has a wall of China around him, and he's sitting there for 6 years waiting to throw a pass every time. And I said, this is a team. I mean, they don't have their starters. I mean, a couple of the guys are starters, but they got backups and backups, and Daniel Jones has all day to throw. And so what are they doing that they can do that and we can't? That's what I'd like to know.
Yep. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Now, we got lots of shuffling and buffling and moving around and moving and shaking, Frankie, all over that offensive line. Injuries, moves, everything. So maybe it takes a minute. But all I really care about this year, this is number one for me. All I care about is that we protect our quarterback. Now, if it's Flacco, it's Flacco, but I'm going to say it's Zach Wilson. I want to protect this kid so he can actually have time to utilize the myriad weapons that we have available to him, and I want to see a damn offense. That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to see that.
Can he read it's hard to read a defense if you're getting sacked all the time.
It really is.
So he's got to be protected so we can determine, is this kid going to be able to read defenses consistently and then deliver an accurate ball? That's what I think about it.
Yeah, it's the truth. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead. We'll keep talking for a little while. We're not ending the show or anything, but I'm going to bring Wat2K on if he's ready. We got some trivia. Now, guys, we are, I believe, undefeated in the trivia department. I think we're undefeated. This is we're crushing it this year. As Snowball says, statistically, preseason means absolutely nothing, and we have to remember that.
And I agree. That's why I watch the players with my eyes, and I see what they're doing.
Right.
I'm not
And
happy
like
right
Nathan
now.
Shepard quite literally getting pushed down the line. But then the scary part is there's no backfill. There's nobody there behind Nathan Shepard to fill it. That's what spooks me. But let's bring on Wat2K. Let's get some trivia going, and then we'll dig into, you know what I want to talk about a little bit tonight, Frankie, before we end this? I want to see what everybody feels about Denzel Mims. What do you think? You think we could talk about that a little bit? What's up, Wat2K, everybody? New York.
Who's that?
Yeah, who is that?
I've never heard of this Denzel. I don't know. I feel like I need to change the question to a Denzel Mims. Maybe we'll talk about his high school days or something.
Maybe.
Denzel Mims.
My God, the impact that Denzel Mims has on this fan base. This fan base has me thinking. This chat, I'm thinking we're going 3-14, and I got Frankie ballyhooing Frankie. The Giants should hire you for their PR staff. You're putting them over like $1 million tonight.
I was ready to laugh at them, Wat2K. I heard that interview with Bobby Johnson, and I said, ha ha, they're about to get crushed. And then he proved me wrong. So, I mean, you got to give the guy credit, and you got to give the team credit when they do well.
A little bit of credit. They still had no answers for Garrett Wilson or Elijah Moore. We'll see what they could do on defense. But, hey, Daniel Jones will actually have time to prove that he's a mediocre at best quarterback. So, good for me.
I'll tell you what. You know what? But you know what? Here's what I'm going to say. If you guys want to get a little bit excited about something, in the preseason, Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson have been getting open consistently.
Yeah.
These guys. So again, so if we end up having an offensive line that's even average, good, not great, just a good offensive line, and if they're going to be better at one side than the other, they protect well in pass pro. If they can do that, we have guys for the first time in a long time, man. We have a selection of guys that know how to do this thing and can actually beat their man. And here's the other thing. When the ball's in their hand, guys like Elijah Moore can do terrible damage to the defense. So, I mean, dude, there's a lot to be excited about. There really is. It's just, hey, there's a lot to be sad about, too, when you like guys like Denzel Mims, like Jets Forever. He's hurt. That's what it is. That's the thing. You got to be more sympathetic to each other. Nobody's mad. We're hurt. You like somebody, you're rooting for somebody, and then you hear shit like, it's okay to be hurt. What we should be doing is hugging each other. Wat2K, Frankie. We should be hugging. That's what we should do. Virtual hugs from Green Bean to all of you guys out there. And that's all right. I'll leave that comment. But anyway, so let's get to the trivia. Wat2K, we have been stomping your ass this year.
Yeah, like you were a Giants offensive lineman, apparently.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Oh, you know what? Hey, we're going to see our defensive line. Look, but Wat2K, Frankie just said that offensive line was good. They looked real good. So now we'll get a true test on what our defensive line really looks like against one of the better offensive lines in the preseason. So, hey, it'll be nice. We'll see what we're really made of. And I heard Carl Lawson's going to play. So let's see some Carl Lawson. Why not?
Yeah,
so what
see some Carl Lawson beating Evan Neal. That'd be nice. Let's have some highlights.
Ooh.
Wouldn't that be fun? Again, it's preseason. It means nothing, but it would be nice. It would be nice to see a little Carl Lawson. I'd like to see him take his left hand and just straight arm roll him backwards on his back, step on his chest, and get the quarterback. That's my dream. Just a one arm. That's what I want. That's my.
Just like I say, this ain't no SEC, Rook. That's right. What I want.
Yeah, yeah. Then you got to say stuff like that. Welcome to the NFL. Those kinds of things. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Of course, if it goes the other way, then
No. They got to stop talking like that to our guys. What is this? Why are they? Somebody blow a damn penalty flag.
That's disrespectful.
That's right. What? Who are these people? Where's the refs? You're not allowed to hurt our feelings like that.
And one day after the game happens, we'll all move on because then it's cut down day because we'll be cutting 27 players. There won't be a whole lot of time to reminisce on the Giants game.
Yeah, I know. Sure. That's the thing. It's literally right there. And it's going to be interesting, man. I think that this is going to be one of the years where I think we have a lot of surprises. That's what I think. Guys that you might be invested in. Guys that you might not think are going to get cut. I think we're going to see some surprises. So see how mad we get then.
I'm hoping for trades. If we're going to let these guys go, if they have any value, why can't we make some trades?
Well, then you still got to cut somebody too. Like if you trade a Mims for somebody, like you still got to cut somebody.
So you didn't want to acquire stockpile picks at this point as much anymore. So I mean,
yeah, I mean, you want to do whatever
it's a
you
choice
can.
of like release him or get a pick, then I'll take the pick. But like,
yeah.
Well,
No, right, agreed. And the thing is, right now, you want to do as much as you can to help this team. The 2022 New York Jets picks are great. I love them. They're so much fun in April. They're so much fun to talk about. But I really would like to see us anything we can do for this team. Let's do it. So yeah, let's see. Let's see if we can get some trades going. That'd be interesting.
And remember, we haven't allowed a sack, and we haven't allowed a sack during the whole preseason, number one, and we haven't lost a preseason game since 2019. Now, granted, there were no preseason games in 2020 because of the pandemic.
That's
but
right.
we still haven't lost one since 2019. So
I'm taking
linings. Silver linings, Y2K.
Yes, like gray linings, like the gray that should be on the Jets uniforms.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be seen?
I knew
guys,
you'd appreciate that.
There's look, Y2K laying down the silver linings for us, man. We haven't lost a preseason game since 2019. Hasn't this been fun? Come on. We can't even have fun anymore. Come on.
I mean, if we can't enjoy August, what can we enjoy? That's what I'm thinking. I don't know.
I don't know if we can enjoy anything. We fight bloody. I mean, there are almost virtual fist fights going into the draft. People want to kill each other. They want to fucking kill each other. And I'm one of them. So, yeah. All right. So, Y2K, what do you got for us?
Okay.
For trivia. Thank you. Y2K, the president of the Virginia Jets fan club's New York sports Wicker media himself, Y2K, with his Jets trivia.
All right. So here is your question for tonight. In the strike-shortened 1982 season, the Jets had one defensive touchdown and one special teams touchdown. Both of those touchdowns were scored by the same player. Name that player.
Okay. All right, guys, remember the rules. Do not look in Google. Let's see if we really have this. Now, the question is, during the 1982 strike season?
That's right, the shortened
or
season.
Since? Okay.
During that 1 year.
I remember that year quite clearly, Frankie. I remember that Mark Gastineau crossed the line, the picket line, and the NFL players did not like that one bit. Even Marty Lyons, his sack exchange brother-in-arms, went on record saying negative things about Mark Gastineau and his decision to cross the line and play in the. Remember, they had the scabs. We brought out fake NFL players and just played the games anyway. So crazy. All right, so we have a guy who scored a special teams touchdown and a defensive touchdown during that year. Iowan says Joe Klecko.
Joe Klecko is incorrect.
And he did not play specials either, if I remember correctly. This is J.E. Bobby Humphrey.
Bobby Humphrey is incorrect.
Ooh. All right, then who is it? Oh, that's right. No, wait. No, not yet.
I'll give you a little time.
Lance Mel.
Lance
It is
Mel.
not Lance Mel.
Lance Mel. See, it's hard because I was a young buck. That was like my second year really paying attention to football, third maybe. So it's hard. Now let me think. Defense. Who was on who? So we had the sack exchange was still there. I can't remember the linebackers. Come on, old fellas. Come on, my old heads. Where are you? Darrell Ray.
Oh,
It is not Darrell Ray.
Oh,
Burgess Owens.
Yeah, I like Burgess Owens a lot. Burgess Owens is a good guy. I actually did some research on him. He's doing some good stuff in Utah in Congress, but he is not the correct answer to this question.
All right, how about Darrell Ray? I'm just kidding. Abdul Salam.
Abdul Salam is incorrect.
I don't think he played special. Chris wants to hear the question again. Bradigan, since you're this week's winner and you are coming to opening day with us, Y2K will tell you again.
I'll give it to you one more time. So in 1982, the strike-shortened season, the Jets scored during the course of the year one defensive touchdown and one special teams touchdown. The same players scored both of those touchdowns. Who was it?
I'm going to tell you honestly, I don't know. So, guys, we're going to give this another. Oh, there's a couple more entries here. Number 36, Carter.
I'm not even sure who that is. I can tell you.
So that's not him then.
Dexter Carter?
Bino said, no, that was way before. But Bino says Bobby Jackson.
Bobby Jackson is correct.
Whoa!
Bino got it.
So we win.
It took about 12 wrong answers, but he eventually went through the roster. Yes, we got
Jeremy checked in with Kyle Clifton. You'd think I would have said him. I didn't even say him. I was drawing a complete blank. I couldn't think of any of my guys. I couldn't think of anybody. JoJo Townsell. He was later. But hey, good Bino. You're correct. Now, Bino, tell us honestly. Just be honest. We're all gonna hug you and love you no matter what. Did you use the Google? Did you, or did you know it? Did you take it?
Even if he did.
He'll tell us. Bino's a good guy or girl.
I barely know Bino. Is he like the cousin of Vino?
Nope. He's just straight up Bino. Look at him.
One and only Bino.
He's a paisan. Bino.
Works for me.
So that was good. Youthphoria checking in with Denzel Mims. Nah, he was a little bit later, Denzel Mims.
All right. All right. He said no Google. So, all right, cool.
No Google. There you go. Well, dude, we got it. Now, again, remember, it is us and the chat. So it's a collected effort. We are still undefeated.
Y2K. Yeah, we are undefeated.
That's right. Now, listen, we can't talk too much shit to Y2K because they don't come in with some crazy ass stuff and we're never going to get. We got to keep it
47.
I really try to keep it reasonable. I really do. I may have to go to the leather helmets next.
Yeah. Well, hey, just to be sure, Mikey Mouse says he's honestly saying he didn't use Google, but he uses Bing.
That's the first question.
No search engines.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean. I'm just using an example. But congratulations, Bino. Thanks for saving us. I was in the dark there. I had nothing. So that's good. So, guys, we're going into this game. You know what? Let me bring Jeremy on for a bit. We'll hang out for a little bit and we'll bring Jeremy on. Jeremy had a fired up week, man. Jeremy did some really cool stuff, yelling at people. He called everybody ugly and everything. It was crazy. So let's bring on Jets Chaos himself for the latter part of the show. What's up there, Jeremy? How you doing?
What's going on?
You tired?
I'm exhausted.
Why?
Because the guy who runs we hired to do our cafeteria in this school keeps not showing up. So that means me getting up at 5 a.m. and getting in there to prepare breakfast for 200 kids.
Oh my God, this is great. See, now look, if
everybody gets pizza.
That's right. Everybody gets pizza.
Oh, if it was up to me, hell yeah.
I like it. So, but the thing is, if anybody has been preparing to be thrown into that kind of a job, it's Jeremy. Right?
Don't give the kids hot sauce, Jeremy. No hot sauce for breakfast.
They ask for it sometimes.
Oh,
we
really?
have it.
They ask for it.
So let me ask you guys. I'll talk to you and Y2K here. As far as the concerns going into this week, and then ultimately the season. You know, Jeremy, I'll start with you. What's your number one legitimate concern that we'd like to see maybe looks a little better in the last preseason game heading into the season? What are you most concerned about going into the season?
Definitely offensive line, chemistry, run blocking.
Really, the offensive line? That's number one.
Particularly the run blocking. We just, it's such an important part of this game, and we didn't have it. And the games we had it last year, look what we did. So we need to have that through the whole season if we want to really be serious, and be a competitive team. So that's what I want to see. I want to see them play well. The interior part of the line. I want to see some holes, some pushing people around. And if we can own that part of the game, I think the rest of it will take care of itself.
It's really, I have to admit, and like I just got done saying that I like Joe Douglas, I like his process, and I like a lot of the talent. I have to admit, like our current situation with the offensive line, the fact that we have two guys moving over, the two guys that were on the left side are now on the right side. And then we had to go out and get Dwayne Brown. And there's so much, like I'm a little disappointed. Like this is where we are. Now it is what it is. And I at least like the players. I happen to like all of those guys. I think we have a good collection of talent. But it's just like, man, I hope this is the last year that we're like doing this whole, new guys moving and shaking, all that kind of shit, desperation, switching over. I hope this is the end. Can we just have a damn offensive line? Can we just know who our offensive line is for a few years and watch them go out there and be good? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm with you, Jeremy. Y2K, what's your concern? Is it the same as Jeremy? You got another one?
It would be the same, but if I had to go to another place, I'm still concerned about coverage on defense. I feel as though if the front four does not get to the quarterback, and I'm not freaking out about it yet. I don't care too much about what we saw in preseason because we've been playing backups the entire time, essentially. We still haven't seen Carl Lawson, Quinnen. I'm still thinking
Mosley.
Mosley. I don't think Jacob Martin's in the witness protection program, although he could be, and I don't think we would know the difference. And I want to see if those, because we're just sending 4 guys. That is it. We're playing these other guys back. But if they are not getting to the quarterback, I am concerned about especially the interior of the defense, like the linebackers and the safeties, with their ability to cover a tight end, to cover a shifty slot receiver, and that they're going to get big gains against this defense. That does concern me right now.
It's a good point too, Y2K. Like when you look at a team like the Ravens, who are stocked with tight ends, stocked with running backs, and happens to have one of, if not the most effectively mobile quarterback in the NFL. If we're doing that hair on fire thing and there's no backfill, there's nothing to contain whatever pops out of that. If your guys are all running down the field at 100 miles an hour, we are going to get killed, eaten alive. Like there has to be. That's why I choose to believe, Y2K, that what we're seeing in preseason is just the bring it up from last year. We have a whole new package coming out game 1, something that we haven't seen yet, and we're going to be vicious. Because if it's this, it's going to be scary. It's going to be terrible.
God, we need to be man to man on the outside. That's the thing, is like, let's be man-to-man on the outside and then use our safeties in the middle of the field to help the linebackers. Like Sauce and DJ can handle it, especially against the Baltimore receivers. We need help on the inside with the tight ends. So if we stick to this cover 3 bull crap against the Ravens, I'm going to be pissed. We better be doing lots more man-to-man, especially on the outside.
Well, and you got the guys to do it. That's the whole
right.
thing.
We got Sauce. He's awesome man-to-man. And DJ is very good too.
You know what my concern is with that? Like, let's say on the outside, we're playing a nice heavy duty press, right? We're locked up on man, and our defensive line 4-man rush is hair on fire. You got the 2 cornerbacks. I'm sorry. Yeah. Locked down on the wide receivers. It still leaves the most frightening part of the offense left: the running backs, tight ends, and the quarterback. Like for me, it's just like my real concerns are, obviously what defensive schemes we're running out there, how much space, but it's the running backs and tight ends. That's for me, our linebackers and our ability to cover the gosh darn tight ends and the running backs. It's frightening to think about. Like Saleh cannot be so stubborn that he's just going to roll out the same defense. I have to believe that. I have to believe it. I don't know if I can deal with it, Jeremy. I really don't know if I can handle it if it's exactly the same. We were even surprised when they did it in the first preseason game. I was like, wait, what? We look the same. Oh, no. Oh no. Jets Forever saying Carter II is trash. I think
this is why I muted him. Yeah. Just stuff like this.
Why? You can't handle that comment?
It's just the same stuff over and over again.
No, he's always saying
JJ's trash also, we found out tonight. Amongst everybody else. Hey, it's a good JJ and Reed walked off. Thank goodness that didn't even have to come up tonight, because that was scary for a few minutes.
I heard that. Yeah, right. So what did they say? It was just little twisted toenail?
They're fine. JJ was doing gassers. He was doing gassers afterward, so he's fine.
100% fine.
They're bad.
Well, we don't have to wait and see if anything is. We don't have to wait for any results of anything for these two.
No. I mean, if he's doing gassers, he's running on it, man.
I mean, when Connor says they're back on the field, they're fine. They're fine, because he's going to be the last to say something positive like that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see what Cahill's checking back in. He says, with this defense, Singletary will go up the middle for 150. So, well, hey, man, that's the whole thing.
Wow.
I mean, you think, you know what my thoughts are? I think that Jordan Whitehead is really here to be that effective run defensive, strong safety. That's what I think he's here to do, is to, when the defensive line is rushing like that, you got CJ Mosley in there, you got Quincy Williams, but you got Jordan Whitehead who's going to be laying the wood. That's what I think has to happen. And if he does, if we're able to contain the rushing attack and our cornerbacks are able to take care of the wide receivers, all we're left with is the tight ends. I think that's what I want to see. I want to see taking these aspects of their game away. And I think Jordan Whitehead, I mean, dude, if they use him right, I think he could be the game changer. Frankie, what do you think of Jordan Whitehead? You think it's to that extent? You think he should be shadowing Lamar, what the hell's his name? Lamar Jackson?
Well, no, you can't. You can't shadow Lamar Jackson because no one's as fast as Lamar Jackson, and he knows where he's going, and you don't. So that's the problem with this whole concept of spying. Who are you going to spy on him with? A guy who's slower than him and doesn't know where he's going to go? So no, but Whitehead will be in the box. I mean, Whitehead is one of the best box safeties in football, and he's going to be down in the box a lot. And our linebackers have to be in their run fits. So one of the things the linebackers and Whitehead have to do is be in their right run fits to backfill the defensive line. That's how you stop the run in this defense. And you can't have Jordan Davis not in his right place and Quincy Williams doesn't know where to be, and this, that, and the other thing. They have to be in their run fits. That's how you stop it. And it doesn't have to be Singletary. It's any running back, Thomas. Like if we're out of alignment, it doesn't matter who it could be anyone. Jonathan Taylor, Damian Harris, whoever the running back is. If there's a big hole, guess what? They're running through it. So,
yep. And look, like I was seeing with Nathan Shepard, like when you have, clearly we focused on pass rush. We've heard it all offseason that the run defense is a little bit of a concern when you're talking about our defensive line, having those big uglies in the middle that just eat a whole bunch of space. It's not really what we have. Now they can play against the run, of course, but that's not our strength. I think, seeing guys out there like a Nathan Shepard literally getting pushed around all preseason, that's where I get spooked, man. I want to see guys like that. Like if you look at what Nathan Shepard did in the preseason, just by that, he shouldn't be on the team. He shouldn't be on the team. Other guys on the defensive line.
Why is he here? I've been saying it all offseason. We have too many of them, defensive linemen, and he's not any good. So what are we doing here?
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. And again, maybe maybe they're not playing 100% in the damn preseason either, trying to conserve themselves for injuries. I don't know. But Nathan Shepard in particular has looked abysmal, terrible this year. And he's a scary one for me.
But at least he's somebody we expected to look abysmal. So I could actually live with that.
Not Salah. He thought he's going to be he fucking loves Nathan Shepard.
Yeah.
It's a good point for us, at least, right? At least our expectations aren't through the roof for him. But, I don't know. I just like to see – I just want to fucking win some games, damn it. That's all I really want. I want week one above all else. I want to compete. I do not want to go into that damn stadium with all the energy and all the psyched up and watch us just get shellacked.
I'll tell you something else to watch in that game is that, last year was proven that Lamar Jackson has a lot of trouble against the blitz. We don't like blitzing that much, with this defense. It's not really something that Ulbrich has shown a propensity. Occasionally you send somebody, fine. But the reality is we should be trying to blitz Lamar Jackson until he proves he can beat it. So is Ulbrich going to be stubborn and not blitz? Ulbrich and Salah? Or are we going to say, you know what, that really worked last year against Lamar Jackson. We should try that and send people.
I wonder, man. That's Frankie. It's a great point because I really do wonder, look, whatever last year was, it was evaluation. We were just getting guys playing time, seeing who's a keeper, who needs to go, whatever it is, getting rookies, all the playing time. We saw almost zero adjustments as far as to account for what they were throwing at us in the team, during the game. And this 3rd and 1, stopping them on 3rd and 1, them coming back out on 4th and 1 all damn day. Like that shit needs to stop, and it needs to stop week one. The defense cannot be out there on 4 downs and then 8 to 10 minute drives because they keep getting on 4th and 1. Like, we have to be able to stop that stuff by using the tape. What have you seen be effective against this team? Using it and employing it, not just sticking with what you do because it's not the scheme. That's where all my concerns lie, really.
That's where that's 100% my concern also, Greenbean. Are we just going to say this is what we do, this is who we are, it doesn't matter what the opponent is, what the tendencies are, this is who we are, this is what we do? Or are we going to be smart enough to make adjustments and adjust to our opponents?
Yep. And maybe that's what we're about to see. I'd love it. Nothing would make me happier. But there's a lot of positive benefit of being that team that is so good at what you do that you dictate to them. They need to adjust to you because you're so unstoppable with what you do. I love it. I'm on board for all that. But until then, we prove that we're that good, how about we actually play the team we're playing and know how to beat them? So J.E. checking back in. Thank you, buddy. He says, are we comfortable that DB, LT. All right, that's the first question. Who are these people?
They're the
defensive backs, left tackle.
Thomas, McGovern, Tucker, and Fan.
Yeah, it's the offensive line.
Dwayne Brown. That's what was confusing me. I was stuck on defensive back, left tackle. That's where I was going. And I'm like, NCM, Curtis Martin. That's what I'm thinking. So are we comfortable that they will gel? Frankie, Jeremy said that was his number one concern, the offensive line. And I think I'm right there with him. But do you think the specific characters that we have, Frankie, are they going to gel?
Well, it's hard to know. We haven't seen them do anything. I mean, Dwayne Brown just got on the field. So on the other hand, if you want to be optimistic about it, these are all people who've played in this system, even though Dwayne Brown and Lakin were with other teams. They're familiar with the system. They're veterans. They're coming in. So if you want to be optimistic, they're going to take less time to gel because they're not youngsters. There may be a little bit of that. But on the other hand, we haven't seen them do anything. They haven't been on the field together. How the heck do we know? It's hard to make a judgment of something you can't see. So
it really is. It really is. Now, Jeremy, getting to that for you, realistically, when you look at the cast of characters, like Frankie just said, we haven't seen them. Yeah. In some respects, are you positive? Are you optimistic about it? You think we got like the two guys that we did add happen to be Pro Bowl level vets? Like we have, reason to believe that it's going to do that, or are you like kind of leaning toward the negative?
Oh no, I believe that they will. I think my biggest concern is how long it will take because I can't stomach because it can't be game 6, game 7. Like it can't be, we open up the first 4 or 5 games with no running game and we can, and that affects the passing game and it affects Zach's ability to develop as easily as if we had a running game like that. And the defense, don't forget the impact of the defense when we can't run the ball, right? Because then we're going to be putting them out there a lot more often and too soon. So it's not so much. I trust all 5 guys. I trust that they each have very good positive things and attributes about them that make me feel really confident. But it's just a timing thing. Do they have the time in their new positions? Dwayne Brown coming in to be there by game 1 or even game 2, game 3. We can't afford to have it take a long time.
That's well said, man. And like we talked about earlier, last year it took this offensive line approximately 5 or 6 games to even become competent. Now they did settle in, and then the weak link of Greg Van Roten was even more glowing, but it took them a while. This is known to be a little bit more of a difficult offensive scheme to absorb, and being able to make all the line calls and all that stuff and account for stunts, etc. I just like to see, like Jeremy said, maybe this year, because it is vets and the other guys have been here. We have 3 guys coming back. 3 guys coming back. Lakin Tomlinson played with these coaches just 2 years ago. So maybe we have a little bit more of a leg up. Now let's talk a little bit about the joint practice. Now I'm going to show you guys a little tiny bit of a video here. Let's take a little bit of time and watch what the Jets and Giants practice highlights looked like. Can you guys see it? Is it there?
Yes.
All right. Now I'm not going to use the sound because I believe they're playing a song that would get me into trouble. So I'm just going to, let me get that out of here. Let's take a look. Let's see what we think here. See if does this excite everybody? You see Joe Flacco back there. You see a bunch of dreads right there. So we're excited. Here we go. Look at this. Oh, that's Breece Hall again. Look at him. Is anybody excited for Breece Hall? We haven't looked very good in the preseason as far as our running game, but are you guys still psyched? What?
Yeah, and there's Garrett, right? Was that?
Yeah.
I Garrett Wilson. Okay.
Yeah. But what about Breece Hall, Y2K? Like the last couple of weeks, because of the preseason, a lot of the hubbub, so to speak, has kind of quieted a little bit on Breece Hall. Now it's just a preseason or anything, but he hasn't been able to really show, back up the excitement that we have for him yet. You think there's trouble on the horizon, or are you not worried?
I feel about the same way with Breece Hall as I did shortly after he was drafted. Great talent, very capable, but he will go as far as the offensive line lets him go. That is another reason why, like Jeremy, I am so focused on this offensive line, how long it takes them to mesh and come together. Individually, they are good parts, but with offensive line, it's not about the individual talent. It's about how they play together. Sometimes the whole is more than the sum of the parts. Sometimes the whole is less than the sum of the parts. Breece Hall needs that space to really generate yardage, and once he has the space, then he can make some pretty amazing impacts while he's running. Now, if they're going to get the ball out to him in space, if they're going to throw him some swing passes or some screen passes, I like that idea, and I think Mike LaFleur is creative enough where he will come up with some really good ways to use Breece Hall. So that does excite me. But as far as straight running plays, if this offensive line isn't coming together, it's on Mike LaFleur to find a way to get Breece Hall the ball in space, and I think he can do it.
That's right. Very well said. I mean, look, we have exciting talent at the running back position, but if what's our offensive line coach's name again? I don't know why.
John Benton.
Benton, damn it.
Benton.
I always want to say something else. It's on him and LaFleur. Like, they have to figure out. This is what it was upsetting to me last year, because they were clearly having difficulty. My thoughts were, can we simplify it and let them kind of do what they're good at and incrementally increase the workload? But they didn't do that. And they clarified as much this offseason as far as the offensive line and Zach Wilson. They threw the whole playbook at him last year. They said, we're going to sink or swim to whatever speed you guys can absorb this stuff and actually apply it. So it was tough to watch, but maybe, just maybe, it was the right way to do it. And we're going to be all awesome this year, and we have nothing to worry about, because guys like Breece Hall and Michael Carter, getting them going would be pretty friggin' fun. I'll tell you that. Let's see Garrett Wilson here. Let's see if this works, because all right, there he goes. All right, let's watch little Garrett Wilson action and see how we feel about him. There's Breece again.
This is better.
Look at this. Juke. Jukety juke.
Oh,
What do you think of that, Frankie? How excited are you for Garrett Wilson? Look at that double ball in the air. Isn't that beautiful? So that's my artistic shot. Everybody.
That's why we dropped all those passes last year. We're throwing the balls.
There's
They're saying
balls.
2 at a time. We can't hold on to them.
Y2K, you nailed it. That's the problem. We got to stop throwing 2 balls at the same time.
One at a time.
One at a time, guys. So, Frankie, how excited or not excited are you for specifically Garrett Wilson? You think he's going to have that kind of Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type of a rookie season?
Probably not, but only because Elijah is. How many breakouts are we going to have? I would say Elijah is going to be the breakout candidate, and Garrett will probably have a very solid season, but I don't think, 700-800 yards would be fantastic for Garrett, and I think it's very possible. But I think Elijah's the one going over 1,000, if I had to guess. But that would be a great rookie. But that's a great rookie year. I mean, for a wide receiver. So you can't be disappointed in that.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Truth be told, I wouldn't give 2 shits if it was either one of them. Right? It was, as long as somebody breaks out.
Well, that's true. But if you're telling me which one, it's probably Elijah.
I don't know. I got to say, I really like the way Garrett Wilson has looked in preseason. Nice and quietly, just getting open all day.
Yeah, that's what they both do. That's what's amazing about it. That's what they both do. They're both open all the time. So it's like, it might be a situation where it just depends where the quarterback decides to throw it if they're both open a lot.
Yeah, and look, Frankie, like we were talking about before, like clearly we like Mims. We would love to see him stay part of the team or whatever. But if the LaFleurs and the Salas and the Bentons and everybody else involved, if they just really want this type of wide receiver, the shiftier, quicker, surgical route, and it works, and they're lighting up the league, so be it. So
fine.
be it.
Yeah, go win. I mean, all of this criticism, by the way, goes away if we start winning.
Totally.
If their way starts working, then I say, great, do it. Go for it. I don't care. I don't care what approach you use. Hug the guys, kick them in the ass, cut their heads off, tell them their mama's ugly. I don't care what method you use. As long as it works, it just has to work. That's all that matters.
That's right. And you're right. I think most of it, not all of it, not all the criticism. We'll still have some, but most of it goes away. But Braden, I just want to give you, I'm sorry, I'm covering Jeremy's face. I do apologize, but it's a nice bird. So we have now Jeremy looks like a little bird.
You can just see the little top of his head.
Yeah. Watch it. Look at the little nipple. He's got a little nipple on the top of the bird. That's Jeremy's
It's
head.
at the top of Joe Douglas's head when the girl's like on top of him with the photo.
Oh, that's hilarious. But Braden, I want to just bring out that I appreciate this callback. Not many people would be able to do that, but you did. When we first signed John Benton for about 3 months, 4 months, I could not get it right, and it was Ben Breedson. That's what I kept fucking calling. I'm like, I know that's not it, but it's Ben Breeds. I just couldn't stop saying it. So thank you, Braden. That's just good old-fashioned fun right there. So all right, let's see who's next here. We got a double ball. Let's see if 2 people catch it.
It went back to 1. Oh my gosh, what a special
that was
throw.
Bryce Hall's pick. Let's back it up.
Bryce Hall could still play.
Here it goes.
And he threw it right to him. The guy fell down.
Yeah, but he caught it.
At least he caught it.
Well, here's the thing with Bryce Hall. Like, I'm the first to say he looked like complete ass. And it wasn't it wasn't fun listening to Kyle Pitts actually talk about how he was easy. Yeah, that wasn't fun either. But the truth is, we watched Bryce Hall for 17 games last year. He was the only player to play all 17 games for us. So there's that. But number 2, he didn't look that bad in the whole of last season. So he had his moments where he didn't, he's had his hard moments, but overall he played well. Now, having him, like Joe Blewett was saying earlier, as the first guy, the first cornerback reserve, first guy off the bench, I think he's a fantastic option. And, I'm not too concerned about the preseason game. It is what it is. But I don't, there's been a lot of piling on him. And again, we got to watch him for 17 games last year, and he didn't look that bad, one of them. So that's my thoughts on Bryce Hall. Now, what is this? Anybody know what this play is? Jeremy, what play are we about to watch? Jeremy.
Birdie calling Jeremy.
Jeremy, is he frozen?
I think he's frozen.
I was frozen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've been fighting to get back in.
Well, apparently you just defrosted. You just defrosted yourself.
All right. Well, I didn't know. Jeremy, you didn't look frozen. It was interesting.
That was your look for 45 minutes last night when you were outside of the chat.
That's funny. All right, let's take a look at this play here. So we got Bryce Hall. He's happy. Everybody's congratulating him. What's this? Oh, a little bit more. Yeah.
G17, they're calling him.
G17.
Yeah, almost out of the end zone, but kept his feet in bounds.
We got some exciting guys.
All right. Let's see what else we got here.
Don't forget about Alex.
We got here. Oh, did you see? I see what I put out here. I'll show you. Tell me if you think this is funny in the slightest. Wait.
Every single day, and I'm sorry if I sound stupid. If somebody has $500 and they've already paid taxes on it, and they give it to me, so now just because it goes from them to me, I also have to pay taxes on it, even though they just did. And then not only that, but anytime I spend one of those $500, I'm going to also pay another tax fee on whatever item I'm buying. And then whoever I bought the item from will have to pay taxes on the money they just earned from what I bought. So, like, if it... So every single dollar, like, if a dollar is 100 cents, hold on.
Why is someone recording this?
Just forget it. No, I seriously think about this every
Perfect timing.
Isn't that fun? Dude, I couldn't help. I laughed so hard when I first saw that the first time. I literally had to stand up like I couldn't breathe. When she said, forget it. And like Frankie said, I said, she posted it. Like that. It wasn't live. But anyway, that's what it feels like every time I try to explain to somebody else why I'm a Jets fan. Like,
that's like trying to explain the QBR, how that all works.
You got super chat. You got a super chat from Alex.
Okay, all right, sorry, Alex. Let me.
I don't want to. We don't want to miss.
Jeremy, are you cleaning the sex bot thing?
Me and Adam have been on it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
We're double teaming the sex bots tonight.
I appreciate it.
We're getting to them fast.
Awesome. Thank you. Because by the time I get to him, and I still see him on StreamYard, so I assumed, but I just wanted to double check. Thank you. Alex, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, is Ulbrich the staff member who is most on the chopping block this year? If the D is close to as bad as last year, is Saleh calling plays by week 4? Y2K, why don't you take this one? What do you think? Is out of the staff, you think if somebody is on the chopping block, is it Ulbrich? And what do you think the likelihood of Saleh jumping in would be?
Robert Saleh comes across to me as an incredibly loyal individual. You could see it in the fact that we have the exact same coaching staff this year as we did last year. That said, if I had to put one coach on the hot seat, it's Jeff Ulbrich. But I don't think there is a situation based off coaching where Ulbrich would be fired over the course of the season. I could see his duties being relegated or reassigned, and Saleh taking over maybe halfway through the season if absolutely needed. But I think if Ulbrich goes, it's going to be on the Monday after the season ends, no sooner than that. Saleh's just too loyal to his guys. So
I think that could be a detriment. I'm with you, right? There's a positive there. There is. But
good Lord. No, they're back again. Goodbye.
Now, let me ask you guys this. Somebody said this to me the other day. I don't even know who or where. In the event Saleh struggles this year, like really struggles, like Ulbrich is still there, he's not jumping in, he's letting his coordinators sink or swim and the whole thing, and we got 3 or 4 win season or something along those lines. You think Joe Douglas switches gears and goes for like a Sean Payton if he's available? You think he does that, Jeremy? What do you think? And this is just hypothetical. We're not throwing wood on a fire. I'm just thinking.
It's just so early to tell because last year there were so many injuries to the safeties. And I know we don't like what we've seen in preseason, but there was a time where the defense was playing well. And then we were 7 safeties deep and the offense was going 1, 2, 3 and out. And there were times where the defense was playing well. And then they just finally, you bend, you finally break. So not all of it is his fault. There were some very ugly games, though. There were obviously a few ugly games, but I don't know if anybody calling those ugly games like the second half against Philly or the Indianapolis game, I don't know if any defensive coordinator prevents what happens from happening in those games. So to me, we have to see. He's not on the hot seat right now at the moment, but if we are having games like that again and everybody's there's just tons of space. We keep talking about it. So much space for the offense to work. Nobody in the neighborhood. Still can't stop the screen. At some point, I think definitely he will move on the onto the hot seat. But I agree with Adam that I don't think you're going to see him fired this during the season or anything crazy like that. But there's always going to be a scapegoat. I don't care how loyal you are. Eventually, you protect your own job, right? And if you're the head coach, you're going to make a change. But I'm very hopeful we're not going to get there. I'm very hopeful.
Is that the end of Jeremy?
That may be the permanent end of Jeremy.
We got to cover him with a bird. Hey, Frankie, Jerry wants you to talk. Apparently, Jerry needs more Frankie.
Well, let me say this.
Have you not be here? First of all,
Jerry is, but
Jerry, you're not in charge here. You're not in charge here. First of all, Jerry, I know you You got Y2K on the payroll, but you're still not in charge. Frankie fucking just talk. I go around. Frankie just talked for like, it was like 13 minutes, it felt like. No?
Almost as long as Joe, just not as fast. Yeah.
But let me add this to what Jeremy and Y2K were saying. It would be tempting to go for Sean Payton. At the end of the year, we have 3 wins. We've taken a step backwards. Everything was bad. Zach, no good. Defense, terrible. The one guy that you could say would be very tempting would be Sean Payton because of the record of success he's had. And it would be a different approach than we've had. We've had all these first-time head coaches. I think we might have had the most first-time head coaches as any organization.
It's the truth. I think we had 9. I think
Parcells
but think about this. Yeah, think about this, guys. The one guy, like we had this whole litany of first-time coaches since Bill Parcells. The one guy we took a swing on a vet was friggin' Adam Gase, and we soured it. We soured it.
And that was really it was like a 1.5. I mean, but anyway.
Ugh.
Yeah. But so then considering that, if we take a step back, the one guy you would look at out there to say, okay, this is a guy with a track record. This is a guy with a system. We know he can do it. He's established. He can do, that would be, I think that would be tempting. And that would be the only guy. And the only way would be as if we had a 3 or 2 win season, where things are just, that bad. So,
well, Frankie, on that note, just to explore it again, I'm not lobbying. We're just talking. We're in here. We're talking. We got 6 wins, and there's disappointment all over the place. And Sean Payton is available.
I don't think so. I think Saleh gets a long leash unless things just turn out to be a disaster. Okay. I think Douglas really wants it to work with Saleh. If anybody's going to be a fall guy, it would be Ulbrich, that type of thing. But I think he wants, and we as fans should want to have a long-lasting, head coaching situation where things get put in place that actually work and that are there for a long, long time. And I think Douglas wants that to be the case. So 6 wins, while it would be disappointing for sure, that doesn't get Saleh fired. 2 wins.
Yeah. 2 wins. But I agree with you, Frankie, and I think that the goal should be longevity. The goal should be making it through the tough times, weathering it, as long as you see progress. If the guy is just underwater all season, he's fucking sitting in his office crying late at night, stuff like that. He's like, Joe, I don't know. I did everything I can. I'm sorry. That kind of stuff. Then you're like, all right, listen, I'm going to make a phone call. You just sit tight right there. I'm going to go get you something nice, a warm blanket, and I'm going to call somebody. Buffalo Jet fan checking in. What's up, buddy? He says, boys, how do you know? You don't know. You don't know. It's good to see you, Buffalo. Let's see. So I want to play some of this stuff for you guys, too. I'm glad you're here, buddy.
But Sean Payton, would he want to come here?
Yes.
Why?
Because.
Of what?
Because if you win in New York, you're a legend. I heard this.
I mean, he could go to Dallas. He could go to Dallas. He could go to Miami. He's going to come here with this.
He never got that shot to be a head coach in New York with the Giants.
That's right. He never got the chance. Because look, realistically though, when you look at the team, that like if this team can't get out of its own way and win more than 2-3 games, like if it's really that bad, everybody would know it is a mismanagement of talent, right? Because there's enough talent on this team to compete.
That's true.
You know what I mean? True. So if you look at a head coach like a Sean Payton, very similar to Bill Parcells back in the day in 1997, the old moniker was we were the best 1-in-15 team in NFL history. I mean, we weren't stocked, but we were talented enough. Bill Parcells took us to 9-7 the next year with very little. Very little. He brought in a couple guys, had a draft, and everything. But
I would bet that it would depend on Sean Payton's assessment of Zach Wilson.
Correct. Or just the rest of the roster. He says, Joe, I'll take it with Zach Wilson. Yeah, if he goes, I don't like Zach, but I like the rest of the roster. And, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Anyway, I want to show you guys. What was it? I saw something. Let me see here. Oh, look, Adam Gase. There he is. Did you guys see it?
What?
Adam Gase was there today. Look, right here. There he is.
That's not Gase.
Yeah, it is. He stopped by today.
I couldn't see his eyes. His eyes weren't big enough to be.
Right.
Come on.
Well, that's what he does, Y2K. He does the thing. He does this. So nobody can see his methamphetamine eyes. Anyway.
My gosh, New York football's had some horrible coaches. Matthew Case. Peter.
My name is Peter Scaturo. I'm turning 9 on September 2nd. I'm a big Jets fan and a CJ Mosley fan. I went to 4 Jets games in my life. My family are big Jets fans, and I went for my birthday to CJ Mosley sign my card. Thank you, and go Jets. Gotcha, man. It's right now. Happy birthday.
Oh, he's signing the card. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. Happy birthday.
Oh,
You know what would be nicer?
What?
Winning ball games.
Right.
Forget the kids. Forget
crap.
the kids. Forget the charity. It's all
This is
about
too
winning.
cutesy. Let's win some games.
I know. Like, look, this stuff is all nice, right? It is. But right, dude, if we could just win some damn games, like, we have the best damn, documentary series in the NFL. We got all this Flight 2022. It's all so good, and we suck. Like, it's just time. It's time. And CJ Mosley, with his yearly, if you sleep on us, you're going to get knocked out stuff. And then he's saying how pissed he was last year about people disrespecting us and everything. Like, at some point it has to stop. Hopefully this is the year, man. Again, Joe Douglas, in my opinion, did a pretty damn good job acquiring talent. I don't think it's done. I don't think we have every hole filled or anything, but I think he did a damn good job. And I don't know. I think that we should compete. So, all right. Let's see some comments here. Alex says, where was it? Why isn't it working? There it goes. It's kind of insane how Ulbrich is a defensive coordinator while Vic Fangio is still out there unemployed.
Yeah, there's a guy we could try and get if we want to replace Ulbrich.
Yeah.
And Fangio has experience with Saleh. So
there you go. I wonder if Jerry, I'll tell you, man, Jerry's really got it for Frankie, man. I think, what you should do, Jerry, is make sure Frankie has a series of videos that he makes when it's only him. You're going to like it. You're going to like it. Just go over that. That's Frankie from Flatbush. Is this like your cousin or something, Frankie? What is this?
Oh, who are you talking about? I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
This guy, Jerry, it's like every other comment is like, let Frankie talk. Frankie looks frustrated.
Frankie's
Are you
got a
Well, let's do this.
stalker. Frankie's
Let's do
got
this.
a stalker.
Frankie, let me ask you this. And now you're going to be honest right now, right? Are you frustrated with your lack of airtime?
Oh, no. This is a Green Bean show. What are we talking about here? I'm happy I get to say anything.
Yeah, we love Frankie. It's
I
like,
thought you were
look,
gonna
here
ask me
again.
if I
Is
was
Frankie's
frustrated
mic on?
I thought you were going to ask me, are you frustrated with the Mims situation?
No. All right. Well, it's 11 o'clock. I think that's a good place to. We did trivia, right? Yeah, we
won.
Yeah, we did trivia. You want another one? Is that what you're saying? You want to get me twice in one night?
No.
I quit. Right. Quit when I'm ahead.
Quit while you're ahead.
Right.
Exactly.
Like Tampa Pete, Rex Douglas. I'll tell you, man. I don't know this Rex Ryan thing. It's a
He's
funny
going on
thing.
The Amazing Race.
I know. There he is. That's
Oh
that's how you know.
It's people hearkening back to the last success that we had. That's what it is.
I know, and it was a blast. You know what was so great about Rex
First few
Ryan?
years were a blast.
Yeah, it's that he really embraced like the Jets suctitude and bringing that out front and using it as a baseball bat to beat everybody over the head with. That's what was so great about it. But the truth
He
is,
had
man,
immediate success. Like he came in with Mangini's roster, and had success. I mean, so that's what people remember.
People can say, Mangini built the roster all he wanted. Well, Mangini didn't win with the roster. despite having
He
7
actually
Pro
did.
Bowlers. And I
No,
know
he
Favre
did.
got hurt.
He
He
did.
made the
He won.
playoffs the first year. Then they went into the tank the next year.
That's right.
And then they were starting well. And then
He was he
then
got
we know
9. Sorry, he had a 9-17 when he got
I
fired.
know, but as an in-game coach, he made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
When to go for it, when not to go for it, things like that really, really devastated that team.
Yeah. The thing is, right, and I agree with that. I mean, I didn't love Mangini as a hire. I didn't even like the hire. You know what I mean? That's why that 10-6 year was so much fun, because I didn't think much of Eric Mangini. But I mean, you can't take away from him that when he was here, the personnel that we acquired was Hall of Fame. I mean, we had such a good series of drafts and acquisitions. I mean, and look, Rex was the better coach, but let's remember, everybody who's on the Rex bandwagon, he was good for 2 years and damn near terrible for 4.
Yep.
And the roster was completely decimated. Whatever we had was gone.
Thank you. That would have been nice if he had a general manager who would have worked with him and actually done a few things right.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking because again, that's what sucks.
Well, they had a bad combination, right? Because Tannenbaum was the accountant and the cap guy, and then he needed a Mangini type for the scouting part or some sort of scouting department to assist him, and he didn't have it. And if you rely on Rex for that, that's not Rex's a place of emphasis. That's not his expertise. If you ask Rex to build a roster, he can't do it. He'll put 2 fullbacks on a team, which he did, and he'll make all kinds of mistakes, but he'll motivate them and get them all riled up and all that. So,
yeah.
And it seems like Salah's a great communicator. People talk about how much they love playing for him and these great speeches he gives.
Yeah,
so I feel like he's
concerning.
He's got that part of him, but he's not as like boisterous clearly. So it's like, I mean, you can say how much you love the coach, but if you got to play hard for him,
I mean, maybe we'll see it this year because Sauce. Well, I don't want to say that because let's just say this, because Sauce is really good, and that will help the rest. Because we had another guy back then. He had a different name.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex has a theory. Idzik sabotaged Rex, and he'll always stand by that. That's funny because the truth is, Alex, is that Idzik was a shill and was brought here to pretend we had a general manager, and he was good with the cap and all. They did a very, very good job, actually, Idzik, with the with cleaning up Tannenbaum's mess. But make no mistake, those were Rex Ryan's players. It's not even up for debate.
I mean, we had 2 fullbacks on the roster. One was a Hall of Fame guy, and we drafted another guy, John Connor, the Terminator.
That draft was embarrassing. That year, it was Kyle Wilson, Vlad Dukas, God rest his soul, Joe McKnight, and John Connor. That was our entire draft that year. Those 4 players.
Yeah.
That
I mean, dude,
sad.
Look, when again, if you want a clue into who was making the picks, it was the strongest wide receiver class in NFL history up to that point, and we took a strong safety at that in the first round. So, I mean, I don't know what else you need. And the year before that, we got a cornerback and a defensive tackle in the first round. I mean, come on. Anyway, we're going to wrap this shindigaloo up because Jeremy's whining and he needs to go. No, it's all right. It's late. And this was a good one. 3 hours and 12 minutes. Not too shabby. Guys, I thank you for being here. Let's just very quickly go around the panel, tell them where they can find you. We don't have to do the whole everything you got going on. But Y2K, what do you got? What's going on with your channel? What do you got?
So I posted 3 videos in the last 2 days. You can find me at NY Sports Wicker Media. Did some videos. The most recent one I did was my thoughts on Mims. Yesterday I did a video on 3 roster moves I'm concerned the Jets could make. And that is getting a little bit of traction. And as far as the Virginia Jets fans go, we hung out for the preseason game the other night, had a fantastic time. And we've got a 16-player fantasy draft. The first Virginia Jets fans fantasy football league is happening this Sunday night. A live draft at AJ Gators, GreenBean, you know the place. So it's going to be quite the night. Definitely looking forward to it.
Just real quickly, Jerry's back, and I want to say you do know that the Johnsons owned the team then, right? And that's a silly comment. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but Jerry, you need to do some history research. Jeremy, what you got, buddy?
It's just Jets Chaos on YouTube. That's the key thing. Jets Chaos on YouTube. If you like my takes, you want to see the show, that's where you go. That's how you find me. Otherwise, you'll find me with GreenBean, covering games, having watch parties when it's not week 1.
That's right. Jet Nation on Jet Nation's YouTube channel. And Frankie, what do you got cooking, my friend?
Well, Frankie from Flatbush Channel, we got some live streams coming up this weekend, 2 of them. Coffee with Frankie, 11 a.m. So if you like to drink coffee and hang out with Frankie and talk about the Jets, well, that's the place for you, Frankie from Flatbush Channel.
You know, I got to say on a side note, I hope the Jets defensive line causes as much disturbance as these freaking sex bots have tonight.
I know.
And that's not a reference, and that we're not referring to you, Rivka.
Yeah, it's just bad timing by Y2K. It happens. It happens to the best of us. Rivka, congratulations, Rivka. I was just told earlier today that you are the winner of the Tier 3, what we're now calling the stock level. So you are a beanstalk. Yeah. So well, I'll be sending you an email tomorrow with some introductory stuff. But congratulations, and let's thank Jets Chaos himself for having that contest. What a cool thing to run on. I want to say raffle, I guess giveaway, right, Jeremy? I guess that's what it was, a giveaway. What a cool thing. And I'm glad to have you aboard. It's going to be a fun season where we have a lot of cool stuff planned, and it's going to be a good time. We have a blast in there. So I'm happy to welcome you aboard, and hopefully you enjoy yourself. That's the key. But congratulations. Yeah, Mikey Mouse, you're a stalker. Yeah, I'm a stalker. You're a stalker. Wouldn't you like to be a stalker too? Now, where's Jerry? I want to make sure. Jerry gets his last comment on Frankie. Oh, nothing. All right. Well, guys, that is our show. You're welcome, Rivka. Thank Jeremy. Right? What a great dude. That is our show. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Have a great rest of your life, and we'll see you next time. Have a good night.
Yeah, here we come, baby. Here we come. Here come the Jets, man. I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.